Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 6, 2025 meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission at 6 o'clock. Tara, could I ask you to give the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, Amari, roll call.
Commissioner Tullis?
Here.
Commissioner Warner?
Here.
Commissioner Maroney?
Here.
Vice Chair Horowitz?
Here.
Chair Elman?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Announcements and upcoming city events. Does anyone have anything to share? All right. I'm feeling a little bit of pressure. I just want to remind everyone that the Hermosa Beach Kiwanis Club is having their mural re-unveiling this Saturday, January 10th at 10:30. It's the Hermosa Centennial mural, which is on the side of the thank you, the Oyster Company. So again, at 10:30, and it'll be nice to see a painting that has been fixed after years and years of Mother Nature abuse. So I hope everyone will come. So then next, we're going to move on to presentations. And
Chair, we're going to be
sorry, upcoming. Did you want to speak, Lisa?
Kaylin is going to kick off the upcoming city events presentation.
All right.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Good evening, everyone. If we could just bring up. Thank you, Peggy. The permitted special events we have this month is going to be the AAU Southern Pacific Grand Prix Series on January 4th and 19th. Next, we have the Interscholastics Beach Volleyball League Tournament Series on January 11th and the 24th through the 25th. And then lastly, we have the Sidewalk Sale from January 23rd through the 25th. Next slide. We have our city-hosted excursion, and in the month of January, we are going to the Grammy Museum, and that'll be on January 14th. For more information on this, you can go to hermosabeach.gov/recreation. And I'll hand it over to Senior Rec Supervisor Brian Sousa.
Thank you, Kaylin. Upcoming theater productions in the Hermosa Beach Community Theater and Second Story Theater for the month of January. We have Putting On Productions, or POPs, introducing Into the Woods, which will take place this weekend, January 9th through 11th, and next weekend on January 16th through 18th. And we have Fantasia Family Music presenting Alice in Wonderland Jr., January 24th through the 25th. Ohana Dance Group performance on January 30th, and Launch Dance Group performing on January 31st. And in the Second Story Theater, we have the April Fool's Comedy Improv Group that meets monthly. The first scheduled event will take place on January 10th. Family Theater is doing their monthly rehearsals on Sundays and Wednesdays inside the Second Story Theater in January. Remote Vision Comedy Night will take place on January 24th. And finally, LMU Student Film Project taking place in the Second Story Theater on January 30th through the 31st. For more information, you can visit hermosabeach.gov/theater. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next we'll go to presentations. The first presentation is supposed to be the California Great Santa Stroll. Amari, do we have someone here?
Yes, we have two representatives, or possibly three, for the Great Santa Stroll, Jillian, Paige, and Kelly.
Hello. Hi, Commissioners. Happy New Year. I'm Jillian.
I'm Kelly.
And we just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Santa Stroll that happened on Saturday, December 13th. It was a fun run, walk, and stroll from Hermosa Beach Pier to Manhattan and back. I don't know if we have our slides, but we had some photos to share. Oh, awesome. Perfect. The next slide, please. All of the funds benefited Michael's Learning Place, which provides programs for individuals with developmental disabilities. This year we had 13 on-site vendors. We were excited to have the Hermosa Beach Police be part of the event. They brought their car for a photo opportunity, which is really cute. And we had other vendors like Connecta's food truck, ice cream truck, and Liquid IV on site. This year we had 1,900 individuals strolling the Strand, registrations, including volunteers and people who didn't sign up and just joined in on the fun. Last year we had 1,300, so this was a big growth. Yeah.
Yeah. We had some really positive community impacts. It was a beautiful day in Hermosa, a little overcast, still beautiful, and a lot of folks came out to enjoy the city. It brought together a lot of families and local groups and drew a lot of community members to our local businesses. We had 9 local businesses that did give backs for us, including like Good Stuff, Gumtree, Soul Baby, and Playa Hermosa. And it was great even after the event to cruise around and see little clusters of Santa dining at all the local restaurants and shopping around. Yeah.
If you go to the next slide, please. You'll see some photos of people hanging out at the restaurants and strolling the Strand. And then we had a whole kids zone with caricature drawings and face painting and other fun stuff. Next slide, please. Some of the struggles this year is just due to the much bigger crowd. Our check-in was a little bit slower, so we didn't start on time. We'll be making improvements on that next year, hopefully. It will be a little bit smoother. And it was our biggest turnout yet. We passed our goal of 1,500 participants, and sponsors and participants seemed really happy. So everything went smoothly with the city and fire checks as well, day of. But we'd love to hear any feedback you had if you attended. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
I have something. It's a great event. Lisa, did you get a chance to follow up with the group that was running the half marathon?
You know, I did share the information with our special events and filming team, and they were going to email them to make sure they let us know when they were planning any runs, since they're a larger group, so that it wouldn't conflict with any of our permitted special events. I'm not sure if we received any response.
Yeah,
yet.
I'm not sure if you noticed, but there was a school group running a half marathon through the stroll.
Oh, really?
It was an up and back marathon too, but they were young kids and they were meandering around, and I'm sure you were busy. I don't think they bothered anybody, but it wasn't a great time to run a half marathon.
Yeah, for sure. They would have been some of the only folks down there not in a Santa suit.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
I was there, and I will just say, as a participant, it always seems so seamless. There's so many people, and yet the crowds really move well, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of impact at the Strand. I will say I didn't make it the whole way, so I don't know how it went at the turn or at the wall. We didn't get that far either. I will say if you pick up in advance at Michael's Cafe, that's the way to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
I did see that long line for registration
We'll be kind
pickup.
of pushing, the advertising of come to the cafe and pick up early a little bit harder.
But you guys always just seem to organize it so well, and it's just such a great event. So thank you for having it here.
Thank you.
It is a great event. It's one of the few times that you don't feel like your outfit isn't as good as everybody else's. So I would suggest that maybe you could offer people a discount if they pick up at the coffee shop, and that way they're going to get there, because I know a lot of people that haven't even been there and don't understand what the coffee shop offers. Mm-hmm. And it's not just coffee, unbelievable sandwiches, and then the little gift shop. So I would maybe consider that, just because it would push both businesses at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
But thank you so much. It is just such a gem, again, to see. And then every once in a while, there's just a little blue guy running around there. So.
And that's Tracy.
Yeah.
Oh, Todd?
Yeah, I appreciate the focus on local businesses, and I do feel it's a big community event and brings people both here and maybe that don't live here. Can you tell me or tell us a little more, what is a give back? You had 9 give back. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, sure. So if you were to go into the participating businesses with either proof of registration, your Santa suit, or your medal, you would get kind of a discount for shopping. So they ranged from 20% off all goods to, at Playa Hermosa, it was like buy one, get one, half off for Frosé. There was also, Patrick Malloy's had a frozen Irish coffee thing going, and Spider Surf actually had 15% off for everyone, and then gave Michaels 10% of the sales that they made from that day.
Great. Can you tell us a little more about how did you set that up? What was the process to set that up with?
Sure. So it was really kind of looking at all the businesses like nearest to the Strand in Hermosa and just kind of reaching out via email individually and letting them know what the exposure would be and how many folks would be involved, and really just letting them know that it was a great time. And a lot of them, we had probably about half were return businesses that were doing give backs, and then the other half were new. So that was really fun, and we definitely plan on expanding that.
All right, well, good on you for taking the initiative and doing that reach out.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
The Hermosa Beach Chamber is also awesome. They send blasts out to everyone, which is great too.
Yeah.
How many years with this is number what?
This was the 7th that we just finished.
I thought it was more than that. All right. And you've increased every year.
Yeah.
So this year it was 15,000, but you ended up with 19.
100.
19, I'm sorry, 1,900. I did mean that, 1,900, 1,500.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah. Hey, one day.
That's what.
One
And what is the world record again?
Oh.
I don't know the world. I don't know
I
where
thought
it's at
I
now.
thought it was like over 20,000.
For
but
sure over
yeah,
20,000.
So, but
Yeah.
anyway, all right. Well, thank you so much.
I have
And we look-
one follow-up to Todd's question about the give back. I was working at Soul Baby, and someone came in, and he had some kind of sticker that said he had been in the parade, and I said, "You get 15% off," and he had no idea and was so happy that was offered. So
Yeah, so
thank you.
we included the flyers with all of the give backs in everyone's registration packet, and we put it in our socials, in our newsletter, and then we also had large signs on site at check-in. There could have been the opportunity if someone had already checked in, like at the cafe, and kind of went around the check-in. They may not have seen that right there, but it was definitely in their packets.
Yeah, and he loved it when he found out about the
good.
discount, obviously.
Excellent.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again. We'll see you next year.
Cheers. You know
I
it.
guess
Thank
later this year.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we have the community Hanukkah celebration. Rabbi.
Hi, everybody. Just to go over a little bit, we had another wonderful event. Everything went really well, specifically given the events of the day. Earlier in that day, I know we scrambled a little bit people were concerned about the security with the events that happened that morning in Bondi. I know we reached out to the PD, and they responded nicely. We had the city manager? Is that the new city manager, or rehired, or however him? He came himself to make sure that there was a presence, and that was very reassuring. They had a police in the front, police in the back, which was very nice. The fire truck, always the highlight of the event, came right on time. As the coordinator of the event, I was probably the only one there that was a little nervous about where it was, because they literally pulled up at the exact perfect moment, which is great. Always a highlight when that fire truck comes and drops the parachutes with the candy, with the gelt. Kids absolutely love it, and parents as well. We had given also another thing, we were up against the fireworks. We were concerned maybe that would be something it definitely did not impact the size of the crowd. We had a beautiful crowd once again. Every year the crowd seems to be getting larger and larger. It doesn't cost, there's no registration. It's everybody comes. We can just measure the crowd by the site. Every year that space seems to be getting smaller and smaller. So I guess the crowd is getting fuller and fuller. Always try to figure out a way to maximize the space given the different dimensions that we have. We had a little issue with the power at the end. the box fried the cord literally at the end of the event. I mean, literally, as I'm saying to the person in charge of the sound, all right, I think it's time to turn it off, it goes pop. So I was like, I didn't understand what happened there. So it had a little issue with the power box. I'm not sure if it was the power box, it was the cord. We didn't even bother looking into it because the event was over. And then there was the issue with the parking. I know we reserved a number of spots. Those spots were not available because whatever, cars were there. We called the number, parking enforcement came, wrote some tickets. I felt guilty, felt bad, causing other people to get tickets. It didn't help us because their cars were still there. So that was something also to, I don't know, just, I know the parking lot is closed, so that makes things harder as well. But overall, it was beautiful, beautiful weather. Turned out wonderful. Ended off with a beautiful sunset that night. Everybody there was just so happy. We gave out 900 donuts and 2,000 of the potato latkes, the patties, which was huge. We had amazing volunteers. Again, just listening to the other presentation and seeing everybody afterwards at all the different, up and down in the Pier Plaza, all the different restaurants. I guess the donut and the latke didn't do it for them for dinner. I guess they wanted a little bit more. And we were able to see everybody enjoying all the different restaurants.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I went, and the highlight was the Hanukkah gelt on the
Absolutely.
On the plastic parachutes.
Yeah.
And thank you for the latkes. They were really great. It was very energetic. I had some friends who didn't want to go. They were worried about security. And it seemed like there was a presence, but it wasn't this overwhelming presence where you got scared or anything. So I think you had just the right tone. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, it just so happens the police chief is back there. So thank you very much for all your help and guidance. Again, thank you very much. It's always a great event. I'm sorry I missed my latkes this year, but we'll see you next December.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am sorry to hear about the parking. I know we have other events, even on the agenda tonight, where I think reserve parking is part of the event. Was that part of this event? And what's our mechanism? Like, how do we reserve parking in the parking lot? Just a cone and a sign, or? I'm just kind of curious. A little more
for me,
detail.
or?
I don't know if it's more for.
It's an issue that we've had, Lisa.
Yeah, staff is responsible for posting the signs at least 72 hours in advance of the event. We put on the sign the space number that's reserved, the time it's reserved, that it's for event staff only. At times we require parking passes. That can be difficult if it's event staff that's rotating in those spots, but it's an issue. People don't respect the signs. We do our very best. We've worked with community services to determine some other methods that we can enforce to at least be able to tow, but it is difficult because people also move the signs from the locations that they're intended to be at.
That did happen, actually. Somebody did move the sign, and one of our volunteers parked in front of the cone in a spot that wasn't marked, and then he got a ticket. I mean, it was helpful. You know, they waived the ticket, thankfully. I mean, we're great, we appreciate it. But yeah, so people were definitely moving the park, move the cone, whatever. That was part of it.
Thank you.
But yeah, beautiful event. Thank you very much for everything.
Lisa, can we check about that power to be sure that we know that if it was the box or the cord?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have public comment. Amari?
This is a time for members of the public to address the commission on items on and not on the agenda, but within the commission's jurisdiction. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes and will be taken in person and via Zoom. A reminder that if you address the commission on a discussion item, you will not be able to address the commission on the same item when it is heard at a later part of the meeting. We're going to start in person. We do have Jack Levy first.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Jack Levy here, Vice Chair of the Bark for a Park group. We continue to make real solid progress, and I just wanted to spend a couple minutes and highlight some of those. After 2 successful events at the end of the year, one at the deck with over 50 attendees, one at Uncorked with Santa and over 100 dogs and their owners, we're really seeing the power of these community events. We're seeing an average raise of about $2,000 for donations and merchandise, and we're definitely going to continue working with the local businesses, targeting to have these events on a monthly basis. These are just great community building events and continuing to build a lot of momentum for the dog park effort. We're also continuing to get more signatures for the petition, showing the continued support. I think we're well over 1,300 signatures now, and it's continuing to grow. We're also seeing more signs up in the front yards than we have ever, quite frankly. On the fundraising front, the team continues to meet and plan for the formal launch of the fundraising activities. Once we have a location selected, and that's a bit of a critical path item, we're going to be able to start the fundraising activities in earnest with both individual donors as well as business sponsors for both the build out of the park as well as the ongoing maintenance costs. And we're super pleased to announce that the funding continues to come in even before the formal launch of our fundraising activities, and it's coming in, we're over $60,000 now in commitments. On the partnering front, we've also begun dialogues with a real renowned dog shelter here in the South Bay. They've expressed very strong interest in a partnership with us where they might be able to use the park for some of their programming, and we could leverage the partnership with further potential donors that they're affiliated with. And our team is making good progress with the Parks and Rec crew. Evaluating best practices, lessons learned from other parks, evaluating the best locations here in Hermosa Beach against this structured set of criteria that you all have done a lot of great work on. So thank you. Thank you for your efforts. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tate Stable.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Connor Rogan, and this is Tate McNamara. We're Hermosa residents and local competitive swimmers and water polo players, as well as junior lifeguard cadets. We founded the Youth Council portion of the Hermosa Pool Initiative, a group of Hermosa residents who are looking to get a community pool for all Hermosans. We feel strongly that this is a critical community need and a timely opportunity for the city.
We have a lot of aquatic activities within our area that cover every single age in our community. There is too much demand and not enough supply. We have one community pool in the area, and that is Begg Pool in Manhattan Beach. Manhattan residents get priority for utilizing the pool, and Hermosa residents fall behind. The South Bay is an active aquatics-oriented community, yet we have almost no public swimming pool access. This is a quality of life, safety, and equity issue. Around 135,000 people live across Hermosa, Manhattan, and Redondo, yet there are only 2 pools open in the public area. Begg Pool in Manhattan and Redondo Union Pool, only publicly open for about 6 hours every week. There is no public pool in Hermosa Beach. A community pool for Hermosa residents would be used by many Hermosans for activities including swim clubs and water polo teams, master's swimming programs, swim lessons and aquatic programs, junior guards and lifeguard training, scuba and dive training, lap swim and triathlon training, seniors rehabilitation and adaptive aquatics, recreational swimming in a safe environment, and young children simply learning to swim. Our community regularly experiences wait lists, limited hours, long drives, missed opportunities, and kids unprepared for the ocean.
We plan on reaching out to each of you individually, and we are already meeting with key Hermosa community members. Please check out the website we have created, hermosapool.com. The 3 of us are in high school, and by the time this pool is created, we're already going to be out to college. We want to do this to give back to the Hermosa community residents who have struggled just like us to get a pool. This is a rare window of opportunity. The city is already discussing renovations of aging civic and community buildings and reconfiguring city-owned land. Our neighboring cities are also doing similar things. Decisions made now will lock in land use for decades. We would like the opportunity to be on the agenda for your meeting next month to present to you in more depth why a community pool for Hermosa residents is necessary as well as possible. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tara. Apologies.
Hi, I'm Tara McNamara Stabile with the Hermosa Pool Initiative. I just wanted to follow up on what they were saying, give a little bit more information. I mean, and I think it's all stuff you know, but we're here. So the lack of a municipal swimming pool facility for Hermosans has been an issue for 60 years. In the 1990 Parks and Rec Master Plan, a swimming pool for Hermosans was listed as the #1 greatest need, but decades went by with no action. And then recently in 2023, the city asked for public input, and again, the residents overwhelmingly identified a swimming pool as the biggest need. So let's find a meaningful solution, and now is the time to get the ball moving. We're grateful that our city council understands that this problem may not be solved by simply negotiating with another city to give us pool time. USA Swimming recommends 20 to 22 lap lanes per 100,000 residents. So if you look at between Hermosa, Redondo, and Manhattan, we have one public 6-lane pool for 135,000 residents. So even if Hermosans are granted more access, it's not going to solve the bigger problem. And while the beach cities are actually rich in public park space, according to an LA County Parks assessment, we are pool poor. Hermosa Beach is now an affluent community, and yet far less affluent communities have public pools, and we don't. So we have to ask ourselves a question, like, why do we lack a pool? Is it space? Is it money? Or is it just inaction? The Parks and Rec offerings in Hermosa are wonderful: basketball, tennis, and pickleball courts, baseball fields, a skate park, playgrounds, and even lawn bowling, all of which take up large amount of space and are used by a small portion of the public. While, on the other hand, a swimming pool would be a recreation facility that all of our population can utilize: kids, families, seniors, those with disabilities, and recovering from injuries, athletes in all sports, swim clubs, water polo teams, individuals, all ages, all genders, all abilities. A pool is also a community gathering place where, as those other sports facilities, are niche and for a small subset of the population. It's January, junior guard prep is starting. That's gonna add more pressure to the very few pools in the South Bay. Next year, the Mira Costa swimming pool is gonna be closed down for a year. So that is going to bring the swimming community to a stress point, and it's too late to have a solution for the chaos that's going to bring, but we do have time to get a solution in place that we can point to when we start to hear this elevated level of frustration. Please address this vital missing civic facility. We're asking that Parks and Rec create a subcommittee to start investigating how to solve this problem, whether it's building a pool, where. We've already done a lot of research as to locations, cities that want to work with us, how to pay for construction, and operating costs. We have creative ideas, out-of-the-box thinking that puts the "we can't afford it, we have no place to put it" thinking to rest. As they said, we're going to be reaching out to you guys this month to start sharing ideas and see where you guys are at, because I know you guys have, this is on your agenda, that this is stuff that you guys are looking into, and we're just asking that we formally be put on the February agenda for further discussion. But thank you very much, and we thank you for your prioritization of this matter.
Thank you. Amari?
Next, we have Connor and Ryan. Okay. Do we have anyone else in the chamber? Moving on to Zoom. If you are joining the meeting by phone, please remember to dial *9 to unmute yourself and *6 to raise your hand. Seeing one person on Zoom. We have Mr. Tony Higgins on the line.
Yeah, hello. Happy New Year. Let's see. The uh, hand raised button on Zoom used to appear right on the video phone display, and now you have to go to the more ... button to find the hand raise. I don't know if that's a new feature that was discussed and I just missed it or what. But that's one thing. The other thing relates to dog parks. I really want to see a dog park, and I think it would be a great addition to the city. Even better, a dog beach. But what I don't want to see is sponsor advertisements on the fences should we elect to go ahead with the dog park. And I just hope that that doesn't happen, because the last thing we need is more advertising in our public parks. Thank you for considering. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Anyone else, Peggy? All right, bring it back one more time. Anyone? We actually have people visiting us tonight. Thank you for coming. All right. I'll bring it back to commissioners' comments. To my left, Todd? Okay. Tracy? Okay. Tom or?
Is this the time we talk about our subcommittee work, or is that later?
Nope, this is the time.
So you want me to go ahead? Well, we've had several meetings with City of Hawthorne, Redondo Beach about a youth advisory squad, and that's our effort to get students, Hermosa Beach residents between 7th and 12th grade, involved in the programs. We offer recreation activities, and we've created a flyer that will go out, I believe, next week. Is that, yeah, yeah.
Yes, or hopefully by the end of the week, which we'll talk more about too in the director's report.
And that's basically asking students, middle school and Miracosta, to attend 3 meetings and to give their input on the programs we offer, new activities, and also we'll look into creating a student advisory board or a youth advisory commission. They have something like that in Redondo Beach, where they have 15 students, and they're essentially doing the same thing we are, and they're really great. They have an advisor, they have a meeting, they have agendas. So it's introducing students to the process and to programs so they can feel like they have a stake in the community. I don't know if there's anything I missed.
I would just say I would want to thank Lisa for arranging meetings with Jason Mittner, who's the Lawndale Community Service Director. He talked about their youth council. And we met with Liz Turndorf, who's in charge of Hermosa Hermanos, who was a great source of information as to how to reach out to the youth of the community. So I wanted to recognize both those people for helping us.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please.
Okay, you said that you were reaching out to the middle school in Miracosta. Is there any reason why Redondo wasn't included as well?
Yeah, they'll be included. Sorry, I went to Costa. I keep forgetting.
I went to
kids.
Costa too,
I went to Redondo as well. There will be Redondo Hermosa residents as well that will be
just want to make
sure. Advised of this. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
I figured. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I think we're planning to
make that
do
clear.
parochial schools and some private schools as well.
Okay.
So
Great. Can I suggest, if you haven't, that Dr. Johnson, who used to be the superintendent, is in El Segundo now, and his group that he had set up at Hermosa Valley that Tom and I met with once might be able to give you some excellent, just basic information, positives of programs that he's been part of. And yes, remember how impressed we were with that group of children. An update on the dog park. We've had another good tour. The subcommittee went to El Segundo, Manhattan, and Redondo and looked at the different parks, the wear and the tear, and we were lucky enough to meet with one of the Public Works people in Manhattan Beach to go over how they take care of their park. And we did learn what a park can look like if you don't take care of it. I think we can all agree that there are some shortcomings if you don't have a good program. Parks that aren't taken care of aren't used as much as parks that are taken care of. But I thought we got a lot of information, and I think the subcommittee is moving along quickly, and I'd like to thank Brian and Nick for all of their hard work. We really appreciate it. We know we've been on you guys constantly, so thank you for your time and effort. All right.
Can I ask a clarifying question about that dog park
Which
work
one?
you've done? About the dog park visits and what you've learned about maintenance is, like, what's the high-level estimate, or how do you...
What's the secret sauce?
the magnitude of maintenance costs for a dog park? Like, how is it? What drives
Are we
it?
in a position to go over those numbers yet?
We don't have operating costs and estimates to this stage or this phase in the research. Most of the on-site tours that we conducted were just visual walkthroughs and just looking at the general upkeeping and maintenance just based on like perspective and what we were seeing in our observations and speaking to staff members. I'm not sure how much information I can share at this time, but we are speaking with other city staff to coordinate how much they're spending on their maintenance budgets. And we do have an upcoming meeting with our Public Works department to go over what the assumed maintenance and operational costs would be for some of the prospective sites that we're looking at in Hermosa Beach.
The maintenance, understanding the maintenance costs will be a critical, piece of information for us, I think.
Correct. Yeah. Just to summarize quickly, what we've seen in the sites that we observed in adjacent cities neighboring us, and the best practice research is majority of those parks are being cared and maintained by the public, and at the responsibility of the public. And if you visit the locations, you can see where some of those shortcomings are.
And I was just going to add, we're going to look at other dog parks that aren't in the South Bay. So you have like a whole range of, really ultra luxury to bare bones minimum. And we'll kind of get an idea of what is comprised in each of those. And that's what I think when the cost kind of comes in, once we see the different levels of the turf and the fencing and the seating and all of that.
Which a lot of that data and estimates will be included when we bring this item back for commission consideration formally.
Just a note on another kind of.
Perfect.
It would be great when it comes back if not only do we have some numbers, but the estimating basis for that, right? So that we can understand, okay, like the costs are driven by, usage or, what's a unit of turf? Like, it's one thing to just have a number, but to understand how that number was derived would be really helpful.
Great. I didn't realize that there is not a drinking fountain in the community center in the main building, that the only drinking fountain is in the, what we call that, are we calling that the south wing? Is that fair? Over near the gym. That doesn't seem like a healthy, and especially now that everyone is walking around with water bottles. So can we put that on a to-do list? Where do we want to go with that? Because I know that's not a go out and buy something kind of thing.
Yeah, certainly. That is a desire of ours to have in the community center.
Oh, look at me.
And yeah, so we definitely do need our Public Works Department support on that request. I'm not sure if it's something that can be done in-house. It could be possible if it's close enough to a water line, or if it would have to be contracted out, but it's definitely something that we would need to involve our Public Works Department in, but recognize that it is missing from the facility.
Because a conversation we had earlier, apparently Commissioner Warner remembers the days when she had a drinking fountain in the school building. Not making that up, am I, Elka? All right. So if we could look into that, and I'll happy to write an email, but I just was surprised when I found out.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
So next.
I heard from a couple of people about the wheelchair ramp at 11th Street, that it was covered with gravel. I think it's because of the rain. And I went there and I saw the merchants team trying to repair kind of the grooves, but I think all that gravel slid in kind of down the entire path, almost to Valley. And I'm just wondering, maybe in the future, if we know rain's coming, we could put up some guards or guardrails so it doesn't, kind of make it impossible for people to get there on a wheelchair. I mean, someone who talked to me had a hip replacement, and he said he just goes around. He doesn't even go there because it's so dangerous. So just something to consider for the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can certainly relay that feedback to the Public Works Department, but we certainly advise too, when this is seen, to submit a Go Hermosa request so we have the tracking method for issues such as this and the frequency of issues such as this. I do know it's very difficult to maintain the mats in the winter months, which is why we have removed some during the winter months in the past year. But yeah, that's what I would advise if the public sees, this sort of obstruction on the mat, to make sure that a Go Hermosa request is submitted ASAP so we can either get our team out there or merchants.
Okay, are you referring to a wheelchair ramp on to the Greenbelt?
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so I think the answer is still the same, probably, Lisa, right? I think the answer's still the same.
Answer's still
Go.
the same. I thought we were talking about, sorry, yes, but answer's the same
I
regardless.
believe you're referencing the one near the Clark Building.
Yeah, the one right at 11th Street.
More north.
And yeah.
Yeah, that one's, we've had issues with that ramp with the rainfall, so we'll readdress it.
Yeah, and we'll relay this feedback to Public Works from staff.
I mean, I think they're aware of it, but just something to consider when the next rains come. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, the consent calendar. Do any commissioners have a motion or a wish to pull anything from the consent calendar? All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I can second.
Voting is now open.
Sorry.
Don't go anywhere.
There we go.
It's not coming up on my screen, so I'm an aye.
Voting is now closed. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you. All right, next on to public hearings. Approval of impact level 3, new 2026 events, the LA Galaxy celebration. Lisa?
Yes, we have a presentation to accompany the verbal, so I'm just going to wait till that's queued up. Okay, we could advance to the next slide. All right, so this item is staff's recommendation for the commission to hold a public hearing to recommend to City Council the approval of a new Impact Level 3 special event, the LA Galaxy Soccer Celebration, for inclusion on our 2026 special events calendar. Next slide. Staff did receive a formal application from LA Galaxy following discussions with the organization in December 2025 to host FIFA World Cup watch parties on the beach south of the pier. The event producer anticipates attendance of up to a maximum of $3,000 per day. $3,000, 3,000 people per day. Sorry about that. The proposed event dates are in July, and that includes the setup and teardown. It's listed on the written staff report and on the slide before you. Each event day would include a stage and a large screen for match broadcast, and there would also be merchandise sales and sponsor activations. The event producer is also considering additional event elements such as food and beverage sales, live music on the weekend dates following the conclusion of the game, and possibly a VIP area, which, depending on the size of the area, may trigger Coastal Commission review if decided upon. The event producer, though, is also in discussions with local establishments to host the VIP section on perhaps private property or in a private parking lot for not only to serve as a VIP section, but also additional sponsor activations and hospitality. The event would be an official partnership event with the Major Soccer League, MLS, and FIFA. Next slide. The requested event dates do overlap with the AAU Hermosa Beach Championships, which is a long-standing junior beach volleyball tournament that takes place on the north and the south side of the pier, utilizes all the volleyball courts, and also sets up temporary volleyball courts. Staff organized a meeting with both LA Galaxy and AAU to coordinate the logistics and address potential conflicts in hopes that we can have the events take place simultaneously without issue. And most issues were resolved through collaboration, and that includes plans for sound coordination and clear delineation of the event footprint. Next slide. The one remaining issue did really center around space constraints in order for us to be able to host both events. And really the solution that we found would be requesting the commission to make an exception to our practice to only permit within the commercial zone to allow 4 temporary AAU volleyball courts to be placed just south of the commercial zone. If the LA Galaxy is recommended for approval, this would be a one-time limited exception to the special events policy guide for 2026, and it would only surpass the commercial zone slightly, again, just 4 temporary volleyball courts, so that AAU can maintain its usual amount of courts on the south side of the pier that it typically has for its event each year. Also, if approved, this exception, staff would require neighborhood notification with a 500-foot radius, continue coordination through the city's special event team to ensure that all public safety, access, and permitting requirements are met. So to conclude my verbal report, I'd like to state that based on LA Galaxy's prior successful events here in Hermosa Beach, which did include 2 World Cup watch parties on Pier Plaza, staff is very confident in the ability of LA Galaxy to produce this event. We are available for any questions the commission has tonight, and we also have 3 LA Galaxy event representatives here. We have 2 in person and 1 on Zoom for any questions you may have of LA Galaxy. And this concludes the verbal staff report.
Before we ask any questions, does someone from Galaxy want to come down and give us a 1, 2, 3?
We also do have Cara via Zoom as well.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Gilbert. I'm the Director of Game Presentation and Events for the LA Galaxy. James McClune back here. He's our Manager of Business Development. And then we do also have Kara Korber. She's our Senior Manager or Director, Senior Director of Business Development. She's been working very closely with Lisa on this, and she's the one that submitted the application. For us, as mentioned, we had a really successful watch party here in 2022, which I was able to kind of be a part of. I was not here for the one in 2014. We really value this community. We have a lot of fans in this community. This is a great opportunity to kind of showcase this to the world. With this being one of the biggest events in the world, we are excited to kind of do it here again.
So football's a big deal.
Pretty big.
Okay. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah. The World Cup final is the most viewed event in television with more than, I think, billions of viewers worldwide.
Oh, whoa.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. And I'm sure there will be some questions for you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go start from my left.
All right, so I think a couple of questions on the staff report, and is it our goal for this event? Do we have a goal for this event in terms of revenue versus cost? Are we aiming for a certain goal? Like, should it be a certain amount of negative for the city, neutral, positive? Do we have a goal in mind? I don't know.
We have designated fees that are applicable to events based on the attendance and the duration of the event and other factors which are listed on the special event policy guide. So the expected revenue for this event is listed in the fiscal impact section of the staff report, and it's expected to generate $16,310 in revenue. And then there are direct costs for city staff and services, which is estimated right now at $1,304. That includes the application fee and the amplified sound permit fee, but that does not include any police department services, so officers being assigned to the event, which would be determined closer to the event date once all the event elements are decided upon, and any reserve parking costs, which also would be decided closer to the event date when we receive the formal request for parking.
And I know we clarified with you outside of the meeting the approximate cost for the 2022 event. Those approximate additional costs were about $5,000 total. I think almost $4,000 for police, $700 for parking, something like that. Was the 2020? How many days was the 2022 event?
The 2022 event is not really comparable because you're considering in the 2022 event the Pier Plaza use fee, which is $12,312 per day. That is significantly greater than the use of the beach south of the pier. So in revenue, it was a one-day event.
I'm not worried about revenue. I'm focused on
Yeah.
the cost side.
Yeah, so it was a one-day event. So direct cost for city services totaled $31,725, and that included, I'm sorry, no, that's not the total. That's the total including indirect costs. Basically, our police services cost for the event in 2022 was about $4,000. We had public works costs at about $1,000, and parking was about $700, and then there was the application fee. So those are the direct costs.
And how many days?
One day.
Well, that was one day, 2022.
One day event.
Okay. Okay, great. And then the other question I had is, do we have mitigation plans yet in the event the capacity exceeds, the number of attendees exceeds the capacity?
So we work with our emergency management coordinator on that, and that would be part of the special event team meetings that are to follow. This is a very high estimate in consideration of the actual attendance in 2022 and 2014. So this is allowing us to prepare for the very maximum amount of participants that we would think would be on the beach. And so I don't have a formal plan to share, but part of our efforts to manage the crowd is also working together with LA Galaxy, which we did for the 2022 event, to agree on the marketing efforts and to limit the awareness to where it would not exceed our total attendance.
And I think the last question I have for now is just more of a procedural question. The staff recommendation here is to hold a public hearing. I thought that's what we're doing now, but what are the steps? Would this then have to come back the next month for us to then send to council, or?
This is a public hearing right now.
Okay.
So yeah, the recommendation is to hold this public hearing tonight to consider a recommendation to city council to approve it.
Great, thanks.
And then it would be a public hearing at city council as well. That's per our current special event policy guide and municipal code.
Thank you. Tracy?
I had a question regarding the AAU and the LA Galaxy communications, that the forecourts that would spill over into the residential zone, has the city done that before for any other event?
We have not. It's happened naturally for like the summer concert series, the Hermosa Beach concert series, to say the official name, because of the crowd just kind of exceeding past. It hasn't been an issue with that. It's not something that we've done, though, in my time to where we've allowed an exception to this practice, but it's not a municipal code. So we're definitely available to make a recommendation to allow for this policy exception if the commission wishes to do so.
And if my memory serves, as AAU's tournament progresses, everything sort of moves north anyway.
Majority of the activity happens on the north side.
Yeah, okay. I think that's all my questions for now.
And for a visual perspective too, on the 4 courts, we're talking 1 row of volleyball courts added of 4 courts. So you're looking at dimensions no greater than, 35 to 50 feet of a court width and length. This would go directly just past the swing set that's there on 10th Street. So we're not even looking at impeding past 9th Street.
And in terms of the amplified sound, AAU's amplified sound is typically on the north side.
A majority of it is, but they do still have announcements on the south side, so they would be very clear with LA Galaxy on their schedule for the day. We don't anticipate that it's going to be difficult to hear AAU's announcements over the game playing, unless
there's a goal.
Exactly. So if that's the case, then LA Galaxy is going to have a DJ of sorts, right, to make announcements throughout the game, and they can assist AAU in getting any word out that needs to be made in that instance.
Okay, and then maybe just a suggestion from a marketing standpoint for LA Galaxy, sort of taking a page out of the book of Michael's and how they did the Santa Stroll, but to encompass some local businesses and partner on a marketing standpoint with that. And I know there's an item later that could still get involved with that. But.
And we've already informed the chamber too of this event so that it can be shared with the businesses as well. And we'll continue to work with the chamber to see how we can get them involved.
Thanks.
All right. Tom?
All right, help me on this, Lisa. Is Galaxy going to take from the pier to 10th Street, and then AAU is going to be south of 10th Street, or is AAU going to have nets north of 10th Street?
AAU would have 4 temporary volleyball courts set up south of 10th Street.
Yeah, so if you look at the site map, which is on the page 2 of the overview sheet, the event footprint for the LA Galaxy event proposed essentially begins right next to the parking lot, the LA County Lifeguard parking lot next to the pier, or the 11th Street bathrooms next to the pier, and goes just past what's currently the first row of volleyball courts, and that's just past 11th place. So AAU's tournament would still consist of the two existing courts, 2 existing rows of courts that are courts 1 through 3 and 4 through 6. And then we would take out courts 5 through 7, which is our 3rd row of volleyball courts, and move that row just past the swing set outside of 10th Street. And then they add additional courts on each rows as their temporary courts, if that makes sense.
All right.
So they're splitting south of the pier commercial zone pretty much in half for both events.
All right, well, that clarifies something for me that I had asked you about. So we're going to have 4 courts south of 10th, and we're going to have 4 or something courts north of 10th, and then we're going to have everything on the other side of the pier, like we normally do. Correct. Okay. And that's why apparently Denny is okay with having the tournament on both sides of the pier, because there is activity happening south of the pier, not just the 4 courts that we're putting south of 10th.
Correct. They'll still have, with the exception made to set up the row outside of the commercial zone, they will still have access to all the applicable courts that are normal to their event footprint, just realigned in a different manner of the zone.
Yeah, just essentially pushed further south.
Got it. I got a question, probably for Galaxy. The VIP section, how important is it to you that there be a VIP section on the sand as opposed to having your VIP section somewhere in town?
It's not a make or break, and as mentioned, the VIP section is still something we are considering. We could potentially partner with a local business to do it. Ideally, if we do end up doing it and it is on the sand, that would kind of be our top choice, but there is flexibility there.
Okay. And then can you tell me, this isn't going to be the only watch party in LA County, right? We're not having everybody from LA County come to Hermosa. There's all sorts of watch parties.
Correct. There's multiple other kind of viewings going on, but this would be one that we are kind of planning, supporting, and putting the majority of our resources behind.
All right, those are the only questions I have.
Elka.
I'm curious to see, we have a schedule of games, and they're usually the semifinals are 11 a.m., and they go till about 2. Then as you get closer to the final, it's 1 to 4, 10 to 3, and the final is at 12 o'clock. Now, if there is a band, what time would the band be playing? And what time does the volleyball, the AAU, usually finish? I'm trying to see, crowd control and stuff like that.
AAU usually finishes, I believe it's around 5 or 6 each day. And I'm going to admit I'm not someone who watches the World Cup, so I can't even guess when the finals might end because they start at 12, so I'm going to pass it over to Brian. Or LA Galaxy to kind of give an estimate on when the band would
It's
start.
typically about 2 hours once the match starts till its conclusion.
Okay, and then you wanted to have the concerts. That's not a done deal yet, right?
Correct. We're still evaluating that, and it would be shortly after the end of the match. Obviously, you don't know exactly when it's going to end, so we would probably plan about 2 hours for the match, and then most likely a little bit of buffer time, and then start with the music. But again, all this is kind of in the planning stages, so it is kind of flexible on our end as well.
Okay. Is that going to interfere with the volleyball players, if they're doing their finals and there's a band? Right.
AAU is aware that's a possible element and is more than willing to work with LA Galaxy. They understand the value of us hosting the World Cup watch parties in 2026 and are ready to collaborate.
And to add on to that, majority of the volleyball organizations host their semifinals and finals, including AAU, on the north side of the pier side as well. So by the time their tournament gets to more of the final rounds of the stage of the tournament, the south side of the pier isn't necessarily activated for competition games. Most of the games move to the north side, to their main courts, they call it. And looking at the FIFA schedule and LA Galaxy's timeline, and considering the summer hours, which we usually don't get, we have sunlight until about 8:30 p.m. Majority of their program will take place during daylight and conclude before nightfall.
When you say they, you're saying AAU or are you saying LA Galaxy?
LA Galaxy.
Okay.
And then you estimate about 3,000 people, and I think I asked you, Lisa, in the questions, how many people usually show up for the volleyball, and together it would be somewhere around 3,700. Have we ever had an event with that many people?
Yeah, certainly. The concert series, I would estimate, are 5,000 at times, depending on the headliner.
Okay, thank you. That's it for now.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I did speak to Denny today, and he was extraordinarily understanding and supportive of whatever they could do to work with you, and I think that says a lot for our relationship with AAU, and I'm grateful for his creative understanding of what it is everyone's trying to do, and appreciate the fact that you guys are already working together so well, and that, thank you. So my question is, and I'm trying to remind Tom, we were worried in 2022 about all these people coming. And again, can you remind us, how many people do we think were on the plaza for that watch party?
I would say between 1,500 to 2,000.
Is that?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. And this area that we're using now, it's a lot to ask people to stand on sand. It's easier to stand on the plaza. So are we understanding that people might have a tendency to bring more chairs, blankets than they would have been on the plaza?
It's a possibility, yeah, and I think what we can do to try to, avoid an obstruction to the view is maybe included in the marketing, like please limit, umbrellas or anything that might cause,
Well, yeah,
an
I think
obstruction.
that the umbrellas would be a no-go
Yeah.
for sure, even though it is July. It will be sunny. I just can't imagine, I can only see that as being an issue where people could possibly get frustrated that they've come all the way down here and they're sitting. So, yeah, we can sell hats.
For some additional context, we have hosted, not just here, but other watch parties at our stadium where we don't provide as much seating, for example, and people have kind of no problem standing. What I also find is that even if a group is sitting, if there's a group in front of them that's kind of standing, once kind of the game gets going and it gets a little exciting, everyone kind of tends to stand up and pay attention. Especially with these games being in the later stages of the tournament, they will be very exciting, hopefully.
Loyal fans.
Passionate fans. Yes.
Okay, especially if it's us. All right, so that was one of my concerns. Regarding the music, have you figured out what kind of a band? Are we talking a name that everybody would know? Because that's going to bring in more people.
No, we don't have any kind of names out there, but we do not think it would be a very kind of high profile artist that would kind of increase the amount of attendance we're kind of anticipating here. So again, like no actual names to mention, but I don't think we're shooting for kind of like an A-list star here.
Okay. I think everyone has asked some pretty good questions. I'll wait and see where that goes and open this up for public. Oh, of course.
Yeah, I know, Brian, last month you had mentioned that we were waiting to hear from FIFA on their City Watch Parties. Do we have any information as to, are there any FIFA watch parties potentially somewhere else in the South Bay that would overlap with this?
Yeah, that's a great question. That information has not been disclosed to the public to our whereabouts. We have not received a notification declining our interest form that was submitted or any other acknowledgement of other cities that have been approved.
Of course.
I was wondering, are you going to be selling merchandise, food, beverages? What are your plans there?
That is also something we're haven't finalized, but we have had those discussions about possibly doing that. Merchandise would most likely be something that's either kind of Galaxy branded, or if we get certain, obviously there's kind of partnership and trademark rights if we wanted to sell merchandise with, for example, Galaxy and USA kind of logos. But anything we do would be more so kind of event specific, we think, in addition to Galaxy kind of merchandise.
What about food, drinks or water or whatever?
Yeah, again, we're kind of planning through that and working with Lisa and her team on what that could look like. We do know that if we did do that, we would have to use our kind of Galaxy, can't remember what the term is, our licensor or our kind of merchant vendor that we kind of already have approvals from that we use at our stadium. But again, that's not something that has been finalized, so we're working through those.
Was there food at the last watch party? I can't remember.
There was not.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just between the two of you, it's like a tennis tournament. Go ahead.
The one that I wanted to ask you, Nick, right? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So my understanding is FIFA has these official watch parties, and those are the only ones allowed to use the World Cup branding. This one is not one of those, correct?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nick, I can jump in here. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
And so sorry. Hi, my name is Kara Korber. I'm Senior Director of Business Development. I'm very sorry that I can't be with you guys in person today, but really appreciate the time and consideration from the council. To speak specifically to the FIFA official fan zones, which I believe is the question, this is not part of that LASEC run program that includes LA 26 and FIFA official marks. This is part of a separate program that FIFA has built in partnership with Major League Soccer that's called Soccer Celebrations, which is why the name of our event would be the LA Galaxy Soccer Celebration. So we would not, under this partnership, have the right to use the official FIFA World Cup branding or marks. The branding at the event will be much more focused on the LA Galaxy specifically, and we are working closely in partnership with MLS and FIFA on what that branding looks like because it will be cohesive. So next summer, you'll see in select markets that FIFA has approved these soccer celebrations pop up in partnership with local MLS teams, and every event will share a similar name and a similar set of branding. So it is part of a cohesive program, but it is not a part of that LASEC program that I believe you're referring to.
All right. Amari, public comment?
This is a time for members of the public to address the commission on this item only. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. When called, please state your name and city of residence for the record. We will begin with members of the public wishing to provide comments in our chamber. Seeing as no one, moving on over to our virtual comment. We do have one hand raised. We have.
Yeah,
Tony
hello.
Higgins.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Higgins, we can hear you.
Thank you. A couple of comments that might not be so popular, but the Parks Master Plan, I could swear, concluded that we have about the right number of level 3 high impact special events today. And I'm wondering, given that, it would follow that if we're going to be adding level 3 special events, if we were to pay attention to the Parks Master Plan, we would be eliminating high impact special events. Now, that's kind of hard because the master plan never did any scientific study of what special events, high impact special events, have broad community support. It asks everything but that. Now, my concern is that we're establishing a precedent here. You say it's one time to move special events on the beach into residential zones. Now, we all know that we have the World Cup coming up, we have the Olympics coming up, and there's going to be likely more and more and more call for exceptions. And I just ask you to be cautious about that. Finally, on the issue of costs, everybody knows there's direct costs and indirect costs to special events. Indirect costs include things like background staffing levels that are needed to handle the ebbs and the flows of the recreation department's duties. Nowhere have I ever seen indirect costs estimated for special events, including things like software and overall staffing and levels that have to be maintained, to handle those peaks and valleys. So I hope that when we're looking at these special events, we're considering all the costs and all the revenue in a comprehensive way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Amari, anyone else?
Yes, we have Nancy on the line.
Hi, I love football/soccer. I was a D1 soccer player in college, so I'm so excited for everything that's happening here. I'd also like to thank Tony. As usual, his comments were very thoughtful. To those of us listening at home, the costs versus revenues were impenetrable. And I heard fees being included in costs, which I think fees are revenue. So I'd suggest and hope you guys take a look at that. Also, it seems like, and fair enough, plans are still in the works And that's great. And I think this provides an awesome opportunity for the commission to make a recommendation to council as to how, assuming it works for the applicant, that these plans gel out. Like maybe say what you'd like to see out of all of this as part of the public record of this hearing. It just seemed to me this was too early for a hearing, but we are where we are. So maybe just advise council or recommend to council how you would like to see this turn out. Thank you, and very excited about all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Seeing no other hands raised.
All right, bringing it back. I don't believe there's anybody here that wants to speak in the audience, so I'll bring this back and I'll go to my right this time. Elka.
I just had a question. You will be providing your own security overnight, so no staff, no
Correct.
city,
We'll contract private security.
and that's for all days.
Believe so, yes.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, I would. When we considered this in 2022, I was probably the only no vote because I was concerned about having that amount of people on Pier Plaza that are having a good time and getting excited with a football game. But that turned out spectacularly well, and the fact that we're putting it on the sand totally alleviates any concern I have about the size of the crowd or how it's going to happen. And I think the community is going to love this event. Now, the one thing I would like to see you change or not do, I don't like the idea of a VIP section on the sand. I think that should be open to everybody. Let them spread out, bring their chairs. I don't like the idea that up front there were certain people will be able to sit there and have the best seats. You can have a VIP section in town. Personally, I would like to see the sand open to everybody. As far as food, food can be problematic if we start doing major food items, because then you're competing with Scotties and Hennessy's, but I'll leave that to staff. As far as cost, my understanding is $16,000 goes into the general revenue. I mean, that's money that goes to the city. The other costs that are going to be incurred, the Galaxy will be charged directly for. So if there are additional policing costs, which there will be, the Galaxy will pay for them. And if there are additional public works costs, Galaxy will pay for them. So I think financially there's not an issue here. We're actually come out a little ahead, and it should be great for all the businesses in town.
Thank you. Tracy?
I want to echo Tom's sentiments. The LA Galaxy has proven to be a really excellent partner with all the events that they've hosted with the city. And I don't see any negatives, really. I mean, we have the opportunity to do something really special that I think our residents will really love on a beach that we control. And I don't see a negative to it.
All right. Todd?
Tom, I wasn't aware, so can you confirm that the police and public works costs to put on this event will be borne by the event producer?
Yes, always. That's always the case with all direct
Okay.
cost. Any staff and city services that are needed for a special event, the event producer bornes its cost.
Okay, and then you had estimated indirect costs at $1,300, or sorry, costs for staff and services $1,304 in the staff report.
That only covers the amplified sound permit processing and the application fee. Those are considered direct costs because the application fee is meant to cover staff's time to prepare this item, the community resources staff time to prepare this item and move it through the review and approval process and our permitting the event.
But that 1304 Galaxy doesn't pay that, do they?
No, they do.
They do?
Yeah,
Okay.
everything that's in the
Okay.
fiscal impact section is the costs that are borne by the event producer.
Okay, that's good. I wasn't aware of that. My main concern was I saw $16,000 revenue, but TBD police costs, and I thought we would have to pay those police costs, which I'm estimating are going to be, based on the 2022 event, at least $20,000. So I was kind of concerned. But if that's if this is going to be not going to cost the city a tremendous amount, I think it's got potential to be worth it. I do have concerns about security for the event, particularly the third place game and the final game. We're happening on the weekend. Talked about there being a snow fenced area for the 3,000 people. I think similar to Barbara, you know, what you were talking about in terms of these events are happening in the middle of the day, the most hot time of the day. It'll be people's inclination. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to bring my umbrella, my tent, you know, my Easy Up. I do have concerns about spacing in there, and that space. I'm not so worried about the Tuesday, Wednesday days. I think that won't be as busy as the weekend. So I would like to see, you know, as indicated might be coming, you know, more detailed plans about security, getting into the snow fence area, allowed, not allowed items, how that's actually going to be handled, with people just showing up and maybe expecting to be a day at the beach and not know where to put their umbrella that they brought down. You know, and we should have somebody selling sun hats probably then there, somebody who make a lot of money. And that kind of leads me my next thing I'd like to see, which is, you know, a broader impact on local businesses. You know, we heard from Michael's about what they did earlier, and I think the number of people this could potentially draw to the city gives a great opportunity, you know, for them not only to hang out on the beach, but be there earlier, or stay there later. And so whatever we can do to integrate more local businesses with this, with being aware, maybe some kind of special deals or something, I think would be great. So coordinating with the chamber, perhaps, you know, I know there's been some coordination. This is a fast-moving thing, so more and more would be better, I think. And yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm sitting with it all.
All right. A couple things. One, I wanted to address Mr. Higgins, and he's not wrong that we are making an exception. But I do think that this is not a once in a lifetime. Hopefully it will be more often. But something like this, it's just an unusual month. We normally wouldn't approve something like this with two big events happening. But as Tracy has said, you have always proven yourself to follow through. The last viewing party was, Tom and I were both very, very concerned, and you proved that, you know, in fact, we did learn a few things. We need to push the no alcohol more. We did something, but we realized that we had an issue. You jumped in right away, and people did lose all the alcohol that they did bring onto the plaza. So there's that. So I do think that, again, this is the positive side of owning your own beach. We do need to make exceptions every once in a while. So I really don't have an issue. Again, Brian, you pointed out the very small footprint that we are going to be asking for. My question is, AAU already has an idea of what their budget is from all the previous years. This is bringing in a whole another infrastructure of restrooms, trash, all that. So are we able to fairly distribute the costs of what AAU has versus what the add-on is for LA Galaxy? Do we feel we're fair in adding on that cost?
Well, LA Galaxy and AAU, in our meeting, we were already talking about sharing the cost of portable restrooms and services needed for both of the events.
Right, but I'm assuming that we're going to need more public restrooms because we have another 3,000 people potentially coming into town.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we will work with our Public Works Department to determine that number and make sure it's fair and represents what's needed for AAU and then what's needed for LA Galaxy.
Okay. And I do happen to agree with Elka about food. It's difficult. Would like to see you reach out to the local businesses. We have a lot of, I believe we had people delivering food to concerts on the beach at one time. I think that would be a harried thing on this, but I do think there's a way to reach out so that restaurants do have the right type of quick food that they could bring down to the beach. The one thing I do, especially if it's a hot day, is water. And not that we have to hand out free water, but I do think that it's important that it be a very small price, that people need to be encouraged to drink. Is there a way for us to get water down on the beach for people that are bringing their own water bottles?
Not from a city standpoint necessarily, but we can work with Galaxy to see what kind of handouts of water we can
We are a
do.
green city. We try not to throw plastics away. But again, I do think since this is not a one-day event, that the trash cans need to be taken care of. And also, I can't imagine that these portable restrooms won't need to be serviced a number of times. And because we have had issues like that, especially down by the pier with some.
Yeah, I was going to say, we heard that very directly from AAU in their post-event survey, right? Like, the trash was piling up too high, the restrooms too dirty, so part of this plan's got to be.
It does have to include the fact that the county has not, as far as I'm concerned, done us right in keeping the restrooms clean, especially at the end of the day, much less throughout the day. So I would like to put that as a really important change to how we normally feel, like, oh, it'll take care of it. But other than that, I don't think, does anyone have any more questions?
Yeah,
Any
I just
thoughts?
have a follow-up on parking, because we heard a couple of times that parking is not easy. Is that lot going to be finished? I forget what number it is, the one downtown, lot 1 or 2 or?
Lot C.
C, A, B, C, right.
I don't have that timeline in front of me. I can't answer that for sure this evening.
I don't believe there is a project completion date yet.
Yeah, I don't. So I'd have to get back to the
There is a chance that we
commission on
won't have our biggest parking lot available.
Well, there'll be areas of it because it's staged, but I can't guarantee that the entire lot will be available.
All right.
And it's not going to be a situation like the Fiesta where you're busing in people. You're not planning to do that, right?
No, we haven't needed to do that in the past with the event on Pier Plaza, so we didn't foresee a need for that for this either.
And normally with events of this scale, like we would do with concerts on the beach or movies on the beach, we promote in the marketing plan, which we could work with Galaxy for residents and visitors to mobilize, green transportation. So find alternative means besides driving into the city to get there, which local residents in the South Bay with an event of this magnitude will likely bike. And we can work with Galaxy on if additional bike racks will be needed and bike ballet, similar to what we do at Fiesta, Hermosa, et cetera.
But, yeah, I suspect since these are the final games, there may be actual, people who are here for the games at SoFi who stick around longer, but these games aren't happening at SoFi. So I guess they might be more likely, hopefully, to take a ride share or something. But I know council has sometimes discussed that parking lot at the old movie theater where the 24-hour fitness is, and how that's always empty, and maybe that can be another.
Right, Councilmember Jackson had been working with the owner of that building, so that might be something to reach out, especially for your own employees. The 24-hour fitness, a gentleman reached out to us a number of months ago and offered, so I think maybe that might, at least for people in the know.
Barbara.
All right.
Yeah, and in the marketing efforts for the 2022 event, we were very clear on all the public parking locations that are available within the city in the marketing itself, because we have a direct webpage where you can go and visit where you can park and the cost and how long you could park there. So that was very clear to anyone attending. But again, we also really emphasize walk, bike, ride share.
Tracy?
I had 2 questions based on what you said. You said something about snow fencing, but I don't think there's fencing unless they did something with the VIP section, but I don't think there's any fencing around the area. I think it's all
I read
open.
that in the staff report.
We were going to do that to delineate the different events, just snow fencing,
okay.
which is the shorter. It's not a major
Okay,
fence
so
or anything.
something
It just kind of
between, like the volleyball courts.
It's
and
very
the-
similar to what you see for the July volleyball tournaments, like
the short rails.
yes, exactly,
Yeah,
where they have the
okay.
branding,
Okay.
and it's very low to the ground, but it just kind of helps delineate the footprint.
Okay, and then to your question about sun, like the same thing I think happens at the Hermosa Beach summer concerts where people bring their pop-ups and their umbrellas, and then before the concert starts, they ask them to take them down. And not everybody does, but it could be something that the DJ or the announcer says, hey, please lower your pop-ups or your umbrellas so that people can, it's different for a concert, you don't have to see, but this is definitely something you want to see, so maybe that would be so
Yeah,
that you're
I
not
could
just
see-
out there cooking.
Yeah, I could see people getting there early to reserve a spot and
Sure.
cooking all day.
Yeah.
That'd be tough.
And I did want to add on that I do agree with Tom that I do think a VIP area on the beach is, it's just not a good look. It doesn't feel right when we have everyone down here to view that some people get there hours before, and then we have an area that is cut off. So that doesn't sit well with me personally.
I agree with that.
I'm sorry?
I concur.
Okay. So at this point, does anyone want to make a motion? I mean, are we where?
Make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we recommend approval of Impact Level 3 2026 special event, LA Galaxy Soccer Celebration, with the caveat that we would prefer that there be no VIP section on the sand.
I'll second that.
Voting is now open.
Just telling you, Tom, something going on.
Yeah, mine isn't working, so I'm an aye.
Voting is now closed. Motion carried 5-0.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for the vote of confidence. And for us, it's a collaborative effort, too. Your team's been great to work with, not just this year, but in the past year. So hopefully this gets approved by council, and we look forward to putting on another great event.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
James, you're a little quiet back there, but you're wearing the jacket. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Kara. All right, next, matters for Commission's consideration of vendor sales on the beach in conjunction with special event permit. Lisa?
Thank you, Chair Ellman. I will begin when we queue up that presentation. Okay, next slide. This item is for the commission to consider a recommendation to City Council to modify the Hermosa Beach Municipal Code, Chapter 12.20, Section 12.20.300, to allow the sale of food, non-alcoholic beverages, and merchandise on the beach by vendors associated with a approved special event permit, and to implement a per vendor daily fee. Next slide. At Council's August 26th meeting, they directed staff to bring this item to the Commission for review, along with consideration of alcohol service or sales on the beach in association with an approved special event permit. Staff has received feedback from event producers in recent years requesting greater flexibility to include additional vendors as a way to improve the financial viability of their events and enhance their offerings for their attendees. Next slide. Currently, the code only allows the event producer to sell food, non-alcoholic beverages, and branded merchandise on the beach or the Strand. Additional vendors are not currently permitted in these locations, and alcohol consumption and sales are not permitted on either the beach or the Strand. However, vendor sales may occur on other public property locations from vendors associated with a special event permit, in addition to the event producer. And alcohol consumption and sales may be considered and permissible in other public property locations. Next slide. Staff reviewed the municipal code provisions and current practices related to vendor sales and alcohol on the beach in Manhattan Beach and Redondo Beach. Both cities do allow vendor sales in connection with certain events, but their beaches are owned and regulated by Los Angeles County, not the cities themselves. In Manhattan Beach, the city does have the ability to permit vendor sales during major volleyball tournaments or other city council approved events at designated locations on the beach south of the pier and at the pier itself. And alcohol consumption or sales may also be permitted on the pier if approved by city council in Manhattan Beach. The city of Redondo Beach does not have any permitting authority over its beach areas. Los Angeles County, which would cover the remaining areas of Manhattan Beach and the entirety of Redondo Beach, does allow vendor sales, but it does not allow alcohol consumption or sales. So in contrast, Hermosa Beach owns and fully regulates its beach, meaning that we have direct responsibility for permitting, enforcement, and oversight of all beach activities. The county does not here in Hermosa. Next slide. So based on this review, this best practice review, and the consideration of our event producer's request, we are recommending that the commission consider supporting this modification to the code to allow these additional vendors to sell food, non-alcoholic beverages, and merchandise on the beach as part of an approved special event. We are not recommending allowing vending on the Strand. Vendor activity in that location would pose a public obstruction and impact our pedestrian circulation in that area. And if approved by City Council, we would implement policy that the event producer would be responsible for all the vendors operating within its event footprint. This includes making sure that they provide us with the adequate insurance coverage and ensuring that the vendor list is pre-approved by the city prior to the event and preventing any unpermitted vending within its event footprint and reporting as necessary any unpermitted event vending within the event footprint. Next slide. Staff would also recommend the implementation of a per vendor daily fee in lieu of requiring each event producer to have their vendors obtain an annual business license. Given the short-term and occasional nature of these events, an annual business license can be burdensome and may discourage participation from these vendors. The proposed per vendor daily fee of $115 is based on a review of comparable fees in other California cities. The fee would be charged to the event producer and included in the final special event permit invoice that would be supplied by the Community Resources Department. In addition, staff would recommend eliminating the current event co-sponsor fee that exists in our special events fee schedule, and this fee would be eliminated when a sponsor is providing monetary support only, because right now this fee is charged to an event producer if they have a sponsor that's included in any of their marketing materials. So the event producer is being charged for any sponsor that may not activate within the event footprint, that may only appear on the marketing materials that has given them monetary support. So we recommend eliminating that practice and only charging a sponsor if they intend to sell food, non-alcoholic beverages, or merchandise within the event footprint. That per vendor daily fee would be charged. Next slide. With respect to alcohol, staff is not recommending any changes to the municipal code to allow alcohol sales or consumption on the beach with a approved special event permit. Our police department has shared concerns related to public safety, staffing impacts, liability, overall risk to the city, and impact to surrounding neighborhoods and public safety citywide, with consideration of alcohol associated with a special event on the beach. And that is further detailed in the written staff report as well. Next slide. If the commission supports staff's recommendation, staff would prepare needed code amendments and the addition of the vendor fee to the city's master fee schedule for city council review through a public hearing. And this does conclude my staff report. We are available for questions. We also have our chief of police here tonight for this item, should you have questions for him as well.
All right. Well, I think we'll go to the right. Elka.
Thank you. So I understand that there have been requests by, I guess, volleyball, AUP, all these groups, that they need to have additional vendors for more revenue to increase the purse. My concern is, which vendors are we going to have? How many? What's the footprint? And who decides which vendor is going to be allowed to be on the beach? I'm really worried about those that compete directly with our local businesses. And from what I understand, the staff would approve that. But I think we really need some guidelines so people can understand why a certain vendor was approved and not approved. And I'm sure the businesses would appreciate that. And I'm just kind of wondering your thoughts on that and what staff's criteria is. I mean, we can't have like 100 vendors down there and it's going to look like, a circus, and it's just going to be way too commercialized on the beach. Just kind of wondering what your plans are in terms of approvals.
So right now, we would really review the vendors and the event footprint consisting of such vendors in the same way we do currently, because right now event producers do have vendors, they're just not permitted to sell. They're either providing giveaways or they're just advertising a product or a service. And we would review the event footprint and make sure that those vendors would not crowd the area. We would still be able to maintain emergency access lanes and, not have public obstruction or anything. So we would, as far as like spacing and everything, it would be very similar to how we do now. The difference would just be these vendors would be permitted to make sales. And staff would be in charge of reviewing the list of vendors for each event and approving it. And we did not intend to draft a formal policy to guide the vendor approval per se. It would be based on staff discretion and, with consideration of these vendors possibly, providing sales for goods that the businesses might, I think that's almost in a lot of ways unavoidable. I mean, what we've seen in the past is vendors, unauthorized, unfortunately, setting up as part of events, and they were cited for doing so, that were selling things like sunglasses, bikinis, sunscreen, which is a lot of the stuff that you do find on the plaza. But I think for the event producers, there's a benefit for them having those vendors directly within their event footprint where these attendees can easily access those items. But it's certainly something the commission can, we can have a discussion on if we want to form a policy. What I would consider and recommend to the commission for discussion and further consideration is, in order to really consider our local businesses and their involvement in the event, is ensuring that the event producers extended the invite for them to be invited as part of the event footprint as a vendor, and maybe providing a discount to the vendor fee if they select a Hermosa Beach-based business to serve as a vendor. Maybe that will encourage them to use Hermosa Beach-based businesses over non-Hermosa Beach-based businesses.
Well, from what I understand from the Galaxy, they would be monitoring their vendors, right? So the event producer, or, they monitor who's there. Would that be the same for these upcoming events? And who cited them? I'm trying to understand, if they're monitoring and they're doing their internal policing, who comes and cites?
Staff. So in the past, what has happened is when we have noticed unpermitted vending as part of a special event, it wasn't the event producer selling the items, it wasn't official event-related merchandise, it wasn't the organization's merchandise. Staff has submitted the citation to the event producer following the event. And we witnessed the sales and it was issued.
Okay, and is there staff on the weekends?
We do have staff check on our events.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is, I think there need to be some parameters that need to be established to kind of control things so it doesn't become like a mini fiesta or something like that at the beach. And they're obviously doing this for their own interest, not necessarily the cities or the residents or anybody else's interest 100%. So, thank you.
Tom?
To Elka's question, just to clarify, we would still see the event footprint that would always identify where the various vendor tents are going to be.
The commission?
Yeah, so we'll always know
Yes.
what the footprint's going to look like when we're asked to approve the event.
You'll always see the site layout that can change as the event, as planning continues past the approval. Sometimes there are some modifications to the site layout. a lot of the times, though, I mean, I would say most of the time, we're not going to have a vendor list when the event's coming to the commission, because those are typically, our practice, even with vendors not selling, is we typically don't even get a list of the vendors sometimes until a couple weeks before the event, because they're still allowing vendors to be a part of the event to increase the offerings.
But they would be telling us that I need a tent. I can't tell you who's going to be in there.
Right.
Right. I mean, they would tell us where the pop-ups are.
Yes.
In general.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a difference that we can draw between food, and set aside alcohol for a second, food and beverages and merchandise? Could we say you can sell your merchandise because, sunglasses and T-shirts and sunscreen, that's not directly competing. It is competing, but it's not going to be a big hit to the local merchants. Beverages on the stand, yeah, you will take the person who wants to go and get a Coke from Hennessy's, they'll get it on the sand. I get that, but water and Coke, we could do that. My concern is, could we exclude food? Because that's where it really gets problematic for me.
The commission could certainly include that as part of the recommendation.
And then the chief is here, and alcohol is on the agenda. So tell us what your position is and what your advice is.
Thank you, Commissioner. There's certainly concerns, and we certainly know that Hermosa Beach and Pier Plaza and everything around the pier is a busy area, and there's a lot of bars and restaurants and alcohol consumption. And we know that there are people on the beach that drink alcohol, and they do it disguised and illegally, and that's not okay, but it does happen. There are concerns that if it becomes permitted in the municipal code, that it's going to open a door to one event and perhaps future events. And if we open that door for one event, then it's going to invite every producer that wants to do something big and fantastic on the beach to do something similar. So that does create a lot of challenges. Now, when you have an all or nothing like we currently do, where alcohol is not permitted or allowed on the beach, it makes enforcement manageable. And it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, hidden and illegally. It does, but it's manageable because as it's seen or observed, it can be enforced. Where it becomes difficult is if it's allowed for one event or one area but not another. That creates a challenge for police officers to go out on the beach and say it's okay here, but it's not okay over there. I know these are not exact comparisons, but there are things like the Manhattan Beach Six-Man, which has turned into a very crazy event that was rampant with alcohol and drinking and partying and excessive, to the point where the city of Manhattan Beach had to move that event from a weekend to midweek. And that was years ago, and that has since walked back. And there's also an event just to our south with Redondo Beach Beach Life Festival. And we've seen that. We've talked to their staff there, and that is a huge event that Redondo Beach does a fantastic job, but they are a bigger city and their police department is a bigger agency. They deploy their entire police department on those weekends, including their entire SWAT team, canine search teams, and that's beyond the capabilities of Hermosa Beach. Now, again, those are not exact fair comparisons. We recognize that, but it will change the dynamic for any event. For any of this to be possible, it would have to be strictly controlled, and we have concerns and reservations about, just as you kind of addressed on the vendor question, is who's going to enforce that? If we're going to ask the event producer to enforce that, that's great. What happens when someone doesn't? Then what does it do? It falls to city staff, it falls to police department and enforcement. So there's certainly concerns. It's something that the city of Hermosa Beach hasn't done and hasn't permitted or allowed per the municipal code, and that makes enforcement manageable. And if the city were to open this door, it's going to create these challenges. So there's some other little nuanced things, I think, and I don't know if that's what you were getting to right now. This is kind of just a broad, high-level response to your question. But if you want to talk about some of the more nuanced controls that we would ask and respectfully require for any event producer to be able to effectively police, enforce, and manage public safety.
Well, I think if you have something that you can share with us to give us a full picture, it's important that we do that. So, yes.
Certainly, Commissioner. So I would say that for any type of alcohol sales service, there has to absolutely be a strict access control. It has to be a separate fenced area, and it has to be more than just, I heard in a previous discussion about snow fencing. Snow fencing is great for basic crowd control. It's not effective at access control. When I say access control, think of like a security checkpoint. It has to be more strict footprint fencing. There has to be a designated area. There would have to be strict access control with fully staffed security at every single entry and exit. That also creates public ingress and egress, and think of, you know, a disaster occurring when people have to be able to get out, and that creates other challenges. That's part of it, and having private security is okay to an extent. And I'm sure we all remember, we've all been to various AVP events. Private security is great, but something that size, something that magnitude, you are still going to need dedicated police officers at that event. There will be people that just simply don't listen to and don't follow the direction of private security, and what happens when they don't? They call the police department. And if we have our patrol officers responding from their regular patrol beat, that's not effective. So we'll have to dedicate police officers. For AVP, in years past, we've had 4. Sometimes we've had as few as 2, and sometimes we've had more. There's other issues with when it comes to serving and overconsumption, which is very difficult to monitor and enforce. We request all of our bar and restaurant operators and servers to attend some type of responsible beverage service training so they can recognize when people look underage, when they might be too young, when they've had a few too many and they need to stop. We know that events like this, and I'm not trying to call out any events that currently happen in the city, they're staffed by volunteers, or they're staffed by people that, hey, we need another 40 people this weekend to come work this event. Are you available? And they have no training. We would ask that the event producers police that and make sure that that's all done up to our requests and our standards. But realistically, that just doesn't happen. And what happens when it doesn't? Who's responsible? And we can tell the event producer, shame on you, you didn't live up to this expectation. Now what? We don't approve their event for the following year. So those are things that, just trying to be realistic on what we've seen in our experience on this is the ask of the event producer. And sometimes, and they do their best, and I'm not saying the event producers are being nefarious in any way or trying not to live up to it. It's just, it's hard. It's hard to do when you have an event of a large magnitude where now I'm going to create the alcohol service area and I need 40 people over the course of a weekend to work it. Those are the challenges. Those are some of the nuanced concerns that we have, and it's something that the city will manage, but we're concerned. And let me add one last thing. I'm sorry. We understand that this is being considered now, and there may be 1 or 2 events that are on everyone's mind. Volleyball, certainly, but we're also concerned about 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We're just concerned that we're going to look back in 10 years and ask, how did we get here? And I'm not picking on Manhattan Beach, but again, at one point, Manhattan Beach 6-man had to look back and say, how did we get here? What happened? This is that point in time that we're considering. So we're asking the commission and the city to think carefully about this decision and the direction that the city wants to go.
Can I ask a question about staffing levels? I think you mentioned in the report and now that you'd have to get more officers in, there'd be overtime, so it would be a huge logistical effort, right, on your part to police this and monitor the crowds and the alcohol sales and all of that. And you know, if you have arrests, that's a whole other thing that you have to think about. What do you foresee there in terms of staffing and potential concerns?
So I'll stick with the example of a large volleyball tournament. We would staff that on overtime. So we have our regular patrol officers, and there's various shifts, and we have our traffic officers and other community services division, et cetera. But the event would be staffed exclusively on overtime, and depending on how many participants and how many spectators are expected, it'd be anywhere from 2 to 6 officers. It could be more. The challenge with that is we're not always going to get 4 to 6 officers that are going to sign up for that. It's not always a mandatory overtime. We have the ability to, but if we were to post overtime spots and only get 2 officers, now those 2 officers are responsible for 4,000 people, 5,000 people. And you're right, if there is an arrest, that takes those 2 officers out of the field for an hour, maybe more. So it's a challenge. We will always respond. We'll always handle the calls, but if it's over the course of several days, 2-3 days, that becomes an added challenge. So we do have a lot of other details that police officers are working, traffic details, beach details, things with our Office of Traffic Safety, our homeless outreach. So it's all added to the number of events that we have in the summer, and it becomes a busy event schedule, as this commission knows better than any.
All right.
Can I ask a follow-up to Lisa?
Absolutely.
And I should have let you do that. Lisa, other than AVP, has anybody asked to have an event where they could serve alcohol on the beach?
You know, I would say the Hermosa Beach Open, produced by Day at the Beach events. I know there's been some desire there for that to be considered. And I mean, even in discussions with LA Galaxy, though they were understanding that of our code right now, there was talk of if that was a possibility. So those are the 2 other examples I can think of off the top of my head.
You know, what we're talking about today is an amendment to the code that would permit council to allow it on the beach, but the parks would still be excluded? Are parks separate from the beach when we have this discussion?
This discussion is only centered around the beach. Our park rules generally say that there is no alcohol at the parks. It is not a code, but it is a park rule. And so it's not our practice to ever permit alcohol sales or consumption related to any special event at the parks.
Well, that's interesting. So we do have it in the code on the beach.
We have it in the code on the beach.
So council, if it's got a great event that came to them and they said, wow, we really need to do this and we're going to let the alcohol be served here. If they wanted to do it at that time, they would have to then go through this whole public hearing, 2 readings of an ordinance, right? We would
Exactly, for the
right.
beach.
And so what they're asking for is the discretion to be able to make the decision if someone comes and asks for that event. That's what council's asking for, or it wants us to consider.
Essentially, I think, yes. I mean, it was a very general future agenda item request just to review this, and volleyball tournaments was discussed in the future agenda item request as being, you know, the events to consider, but then it was also discussed, why are we going to limit this consideration just to volleyball tournaments? Why only volleyball tournaments would be allowed this for? Because the Manhattan Beach Code is very specific about it being for volleyball tournaments. And it was like, why would we only do it for that type of event? So it was very, very general just to review the current code amendments. It could be a discussion or consideration of a recommendation to where it's only for city council approved events like we've saw for Manhattan Beach, but it was really just for the commission to review the code.
All right, I'm done.
All right. Tracy.
I was pretty much a no on the alcohol before this conversation, and now I mean, really, if you just even think about the liability of it all, it's just too much. You know, even Beach Life, I don't know what their responsibility is with that. I'm asking questions. Okay, here's my question. I had written down also a discount fee for local business. I'm going to take it back to the not the alcohol and the actual thing. If you are a local business and you have a business license, would you then still be required to buy a daily vendor fee for this event, an event, to be able to sell something on the beach?
That would be the recommendation still, but tonight we posed the thought to the commission for consideration that there be a discount because they do have a business license. Because it could be that the event producer, I mean, I can't speak to every event producer's event model, but it could be that they're selling that space too to the vendor as part of their event footprint. So it should be the responsibility, in staff's opinion, for there to be some fee associated with that vendor space on the beach, prime location to the event producer.
I assume that the event producer, knowing, let's say, that the event fee or the daily event vendor fee is $115 to the city, I'm assuming that that event producer is going to charge that vendor $200 or $300.
Exactly.
Because that's the whole point, is they want to increase their revenue.
Exactly. So that's why we would still recommend there be a fee for Hermosa Beach-based businesses, but maybe a discount so that it will encourage the event producers to reach out to them first.
Which doing so actually formalizes this process better and keeps more accountability of the vendors there, because the practice as it is today through the special event permit program is events do have vendors, although they are not permitted to sell, they are permitted to be on site.
Yes.
For visibility and branding. We have no fees associated with how much they are being charged on location to use public property for their, marketing and promotion of their brand and products. Charging a vendor fee to local businesses, the business license allows and constitutes them to conduct business in Hermosa Beach, but primarily they conduct that at their private properties, right, or their private businesses. The vendor fee allows a company or a business to conduct sales and business on public property. So there is a distinction in the difference.
So we would hope that the event producer would honor that discount to the local business and not charge the same.
It would really be up to the event producer's business model and up to the vendor if they would like to participate in it regardless, either way.
Okay.
We always strive as staff and as a city for ethical practices, so we would hope they would follow suit in those values.
And again, this is just for the beach. So if somebody wanted to have vendors selling something in a park, this doesn't relate to that at all.
It doesn't relate to that. That's currently permissible.
Okay.
You can have vendor sales at any other public property location.
That's it for me for now. Thank you.
Todd.
Yeah, early in the staff report, it mentioned that we never heard back from LA County. Have we heard anything back since then? Or
What we heard back just solidifies the information that I was able to gather, the fact that they do allow vendor sales and that they do not allow alcohol sales or consumption.
But we don't have I was kind of curious because Manhattan, the Manhattan comparison, they just require the vendor to have a Manhattan business license, it sounds like. There's no cost.
So LA County, from my understanding, it is based on the revenue. Like it's a percentage of the revenue collected from each vendor that is due to the county. We would not recommend that.
I see.
There's no checks and balances on that.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got some info because that was kind of like, how can
We
that
have to
answer
thank
us?
one of our event producers for sharing that with us.
Good.
Yeah.
And then the staff report also included a table where they had California City special event vendor fees, and a few of those said serves as business license fee. And I was just for comparison's sake, I wanted to make sure, like in Carmel, the vendor fee per day serves as business. Do we know whether that business license fee means now that business has a Carmel business license for the year, or is that just a daily temporary thing?
From what I was able to gather from their website, it would be temporary and just for that event itself.
Okay.
They would not be able to conduct business outside of that event.
Okay.
It's almost like a conditional permit.
Yeah, it's like a one-day fishing permit or whatever you get
Correct.
when you go out on the boats, right? Okay. And then in the best practice research, I noticed that Manhattan had a very specific booths must be a 10 by 10 structure. We don't have any comparable code or law in Hermosa right now about this, do we? About the size of vendor booths?
We do not in the code, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's typically 10 by 10 tents from our, experience and with the vendors that are just
Right.
either advertising or providing giveaways.
Okay. All right. Great. That's my questions for now.
Okay. Again, the one good thing about being the chair is that usually by the time it gets to me, you guys have all asked some great questions. My comment, Lisa, do we allow generators on the beach? If we were to allow food sales on the beach and someone wanted to use a generator or a barbecue, because who doesn't like a good barbecued hamburger? Though, is that allowed on the beach right now? Oh, I know we have generators, but when it comes to serving food, selling food,
It would be permissible, but it would be subject to LA County Fire Department review and inspection and a permit from them.
the footprint of the open won't change in that the footprint, so they can only have so many vendors because they still have to have enough volleyball courts. So
Exactly.
the footprint isn't going to change where we could go from 20 to 50 because
No,
they
'cause
would
they need-
most likely lose courts.
Right, they need to maintain the core event element.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have limited space to program in because we
Okay.
only program in the commercial zone.
And then right now, we have had access on the beach. We've had those pads all along through the open, not at the tournaments, but that is a requirement right now to have access to view the court, or is it access to everything that any tournament offers, the open?
There should be access to the core event element. So there needs
So
to
not
be
necessarily the vendors.
We try to do that with event, like we were able to do that with AVP, but the event itself needs to be ADA accessible. We should try to maintain access to the vendors as well. And that's an extra cost to the event producer. So at times it is difficult to make that happen entirely. But it's something we strive to do with each and every one of the events, and something we continue to work on with Public Works as well, especially as we do these larger events like the Rams draft experience and the LA Galaxy watch parties. Like we try to make sure that we are providing a site plan that has that ADA access to every event element.
And we have never served hot food at any of our events. If people have given away cookies in a container or water or nuts in a bag, but we've never allowed any fresh food to be served so far.
Not in my time as director. I believe we did years and years ago for the movies at the beach.
For movies at the beach.
Yes.
That was bringing the pizza down and having it in boxes. But we didn't have any.
I thought,
fresh.
so it's hard for me to say for sure. I thought there was one year where we were preparing food on site, and I remember there being a need to involve the LA County Health Department for inspections. But unfortunately, I can't say for sure because I wasn't in charge of that event at that time. But no, it hasn't happened for many years.
Okay. My question to the chief. These are supposed to be questions, but the reason why I'm asking this question is I did reach out to Amy Horworth, the council member / mayor of Manhattan Beach. I reached out to the Parks and Rec director, and I did reach out to our city manager because he is a huge volleyball player. He's a resident and a past council member about what they do, which is an unusual. Do I call that a VIP area? Is that, it's not open to everybody? I don't know. Do we know where they allow alcohol to be sold, is that a paid ticket or is that an invite VIP?
For AVP, yes, paid ticket.
It's a paid ticket. Okay.
Special pay ticket. Yeah, extra special, extra pay.
Tell us how you really feel. So they, and I was surprised, and that they are saying they haven't had any problems with their with that area. I have viewed it from a distance, and it did look quite crowded and loud and all that, which isn't that fun. But my question is, have you reached out to Chief Johnson about how things have gone for them over the years since they've allowed this program? Although
No,
I know
I have
she's
not.
new.
I have not spoken to Chief Johnson or any of the Manhattan Beach staff on how they're handling similar events.
Okay. My comments will come later. Those are just my questions. What's good for one event? Right now, we're probably in our mind thinking the Hermosa Open would be technically good for others. So we would, whatever we do for this event, what we're planning right now would have to be set up to work for anything on the beach. Because what we do for one group, we should, as far as I'm concerned, we should do for others. So I'm sort of asking, you're looking for a program that is like one program that fits everybody who thinks they can afford to have this kind of a footprint. Is that a fair ask of you?
If I understand your question, yes, and using the Manhattan Beach Open, if that's what it's called, or VIP area, that's a setup, as we discussed, has strict access control that has security at every access point, has a egress plan for any type of emergency, and that is staffed throughout the entire event. And it is limited in the extra ticket sales. And I think Director Nichols mentioned that might be a question for Coastal Commission, which is not our purview. But that's something that, it's a specific design, and if it works and if we can staff it adequately and it's safe, then that's great. As different event producers come up and, hey, we want to do this and we want to do something similar to, movies on the beach, but we want to have this. Well, that's a whole different setup, requires a different look at security plan and how is that going to be managed. So having one consistent and working with that, but as they tend to grow and evolve and change, that just creates new challenges every time.
All right. I think that's kind of where I am right now. Oh, do we have our favorite security firm, one that we're comfortable with?
I see Director Nichols.
Oh, did I open up a can of worms?
Nonverbal communications. We've experienced some good private security firms and some that don't do a great job. And that's good help is hard to find in the security world. There's some great folks, but they can do some of the job. They're good at telling people what they should do, and then that only goes so far.
Do we have a preferred firm, a phone number, something that we would hand out to anybody?
We do not. We don't typically make recommendations or suggestions on the company. What we'll do is we'll share,
What the
companies
requirements
that
are.
other event producers have used.
All right.
And that's the extent, but it's not a recommendation from the city.
All right. I think that's where I am right now. Thank you, Chief. Any more questions?
I have one quick one. I was wondering if you had heard from any businesses in town that would be willing to set up a booth at a volleyball tournament. Any restaurants or small, acai bowl places?
Not staff directly, because they would be contacting the event producer if they were interested in participating with the event, so we haven't received any feedback.
Okay, and the event producer hasn't indicated, hey, I have these people that want to work with me, work with us at this event. There's...
Not that I can recall that are Hermosa Beach-based businesses.
Okay. Thank you.
Elka, there were some public comments on eScribe that called out some very specific examples from specific event producers, actually, for this item. So yeah, I might want to take a look at that.
Do you remember who, like
It
Hermosa
was
based?
BVCA. BVCA was one, and then the other one. Why is it escaping my mind now? I can't remember the other one.
Did not see that. Thank you.
Okay. So, public comment.
This is a time for members of the public to address the commission on this item only. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. When called, please state your name and city of residence for the record. We will begin with members of the public wishing to provide comment in our chambers. Seeing that there's no one, but we do have virtual comment. We will begin with Tony Higgins.
Yeah, very quickly. I love the idea of giving Hermosa Beach businesses a substantial discount as a vendor at these events. I certainly don't like the idea of alcohol or hot food served on the beach, given some of the discussions that I've heard. And frankly, I don't understand why. I mean, I understand why we allow alcohol in the Clark's building. That makes perfect sense. I do not understand why we would treat the beaches any differently than the parks as it relates to alcohol or food vendors. It just doesn't add up to me. Maybe it makes sense to you. I think you should recommend that the council, look at consistent policies related to alcohol sales and food across our parks and our beaches, consistent policy. And I sure wish that, well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
Next, we have Nancy.
Hi, Nancy Schwabhack, Hermosa Beach. I usually agree with Tony. I disagree about alcohol in the Clark building. I don't think we will be able to get revenue out of it unless we allow the service of alcohol. I also think that that's very contained and manageable. So Tony, I love you, but I disagree with you on that. Chair Elman, I so appreciate your thoughtful comments as to vendors on the beach. But why are we even talking about alcohol on the beach? Staff is not recommending alcohol sales on the beach. Our police chief spent a lot of time giving a very thoughtful presentation on why we should not allow alcohol sales on the beach. But, by the way, alcohol was never allowed at the Six Man. It just happened. So I think that was a red herring. But in order to support local businesses, I think allowing vendor sales through this process without alcohol, and I agree without a hot food, would be a great thing. So I think if you work with the chamber, you figure out a way to include local businesses, I think it would be awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have one more person. You may unmute yourself using *9. Please be sure to state your name for the record.
Hi, everyone. This is David Brandon for SoCal Beach Foundation. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you, Lisa, for presenting all of this. I know it's a lot and a lot of different angles, but I think you did a really good job listing all the facts. This is a huge win for event producers and vendors, but I like what Nancy said, and I think we need to really look at what's being presented as well and break it up a bit. For starters, $115 for vendors is great. I think it's a fair and justified price. I, for one, would love local businesses to come out. That's kind of the point of my whole nonprofit SoCal Beach Communities tournament run events. I love the discount idea for the local vendors as well. But as far as alcohol on the beach, I run, 8 events throughout the year. And I would actually, I think we're just shooting for the moon on this request. I would suggest that we take this change or request in smaller steps and kind of go from there. I understand where this idea of alcohol being sold on the beach might have come from. I do also help with Hermosa Beach Open and various other events, and I can understand, and I can't speak on behalf of Mark Louie or anyone else, but I understand where they're coming from, but I think we have to look at specifically the vendors and separate that from the alcohol and take this whole thing in small steps and not just shoot for the moon. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Seeing no other hands online.
I'll bring it back. I'm hoping Nancy is still listening. I just wanted to point out that this whole project was given to us by the council, which included the discussion of alcohol. So I can assure her that we did not choose to open up this Pandora's box. And I think that Mr. Higgins brings up some good points. So regarding food on the beach, I think that's a lot for the city, but we'll come back and discuss that. I'm going to go this way. Todd, you want to start us off?
All right, sure. So, I definitely agree we should incentivize Hermosa-based businesses. As acknowledged, it's all in the event producer's hands, so they can, they can choose to, get around a discount, but I can't right now think of a better option. And we just have to publicize the fact that if you're a Hermosa Beach business, and maybe we can do some auditing, after events to make sure they see what the vendors actually, if this goes through, right, see what the vendors actually got charged. Like, that's a piece of information I, can't quite tease out of the comments and things, is if these event producers, how much would they charge a vendor, or even how much do they charge today? I think today, my experience mostly has seen vendors be at events as part of the sponsorship of the event. So I assume they pay some amount to help defray the costs, therefore they get a booth, free samples, blah, 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 things like that. That's how I've mostly experienced it working. I don't know if this program, Align Basel, would change what they get charged, and I think that's a big question for me, but I do think the right thing to do is to have additional vendors available for these events. I agree we should defer any alcohol. I'm not interested in adding the alcohol question to the mix at this point. And I was thinking about the hot food versus just food in general. I think that's a good distinction. I was worried that hot food might be a little too complicated to be as part of it, but I would recommend limiting food to non-hot food if we think it's feasible. And then I also have some concerns about the number of vendors, although I think we talked about the event footprint, and the event producer had to balance what they're trying to do in the event with the space available. And I couldn't think of a good way to cap the number of vendors in some way for an event. I guess as long as somebody doesn't just create an event they're going to call Playa Fiesta and decide to have like 30 vendors, I guess we'd have to avoid that. But I guess it's always in our discretion to not allow such events. So I guess that's our check on that. So that's kind of where I am with this proposal.
Tracy?
The food is an interesting topic because I did think about LA County Health, and like even at a farmer's market, there's so many requirements as to what that looks like, even if you're just selling muffins. You have to have the netting up and they have to be individually wrapped. And so I think that's beyond what we can control and how we would navigate that. I mean, I know there's a local business that puts together boxed lunches that they sell for people who want to go to the Hollywood Bowl or to the Greek. And so I could see them coming down and having the boxed lunches available. And then how does that work? But I think the health department aspect is beyond where we go with it. But I like the idea of the event producers being able to have vendors who sell something on the beach. I like the idea of a discount for local businesses and hope that that would be followed through by, yeah, passed on, thanks. And I think in terms of the space, I think that's just inherent to the event. I don't think anybody's going to try to pack it like a swap meet. So that's where I am. And yeah, no on the alcohol.
Okay. Tom?
I'm good on incentivizing some sort of discount for local businesses. You know, how we do that in a motion, I wish somebody good luck. On food, I think you could say just snack food, because even if you're doing sandwiches, you're directly competing with our businesses downtown, where we have a lot of people on the beach that are there all day. They're going to eat, you know, get them to come into town to eat. So I would be inclined to limit food to something very narrow. Now, on the other thing, and, you know, this is appealing to my legal mind.
Good.
Right now, the code does not allow council to permit an event where alcohol is sold on the beach. I can see, as a council member, you would say, you know, unshackle me, because if we get a really good event in, and they're only going to come if they have some sort of alcohol, I'm not going to be able to solve that problem if the code is sitting there, because that's going to take a 6 months or 8 month process. So I really see the appeal of unshackling council. I also think it's interesting that when I said parks earlier to the person that was on the public line, I'm not talking about the buildings themselves. I'm talking about like South Park and Valley Park. But it sounds to me like if council wanted to have a community event like they do in Manhattan, they have the hometown fair where they have a beer garden. It sounds to me like council could do that because it's not prohibited by the code. So they have that discretion there. So do we want to give them discretion at the beach? Obviously, that's not going to be a yes vote out of this crew tonight. And the chief convinced me that it's a can of worms that we shouldn't open. And frankly, if I was a council person, I wouldn't want the discretion because it's just going to be a lot of headaches.
Elka?
Okay, I think I'm a no on the beach for alcohol. I think the chief has some concerns, and there are a lot of kids that attend these events, and to have that mix there and that element there is not, I think, what we stand for in Hermosa. And I'm looking at this BVCA, and they said, you know, in terms of support for the local economy and businesses, they say, for example, hundreds of athletes walk to the brick and mortar store at Paradise Bowl to purchase acai bowls. And then they say, quote, they would probably sell more bowls if they had a vending tent on the beach. That's their opinion, but once again, with the generators, I mean, I'm not going to buy an acai bowl, you know, how are they going to mix it? How long have they kept the fruit in the hot sun? I mean, these are all things you really have to think about, and I think to Tracy's comment about, you know, the food being fresh and sterile or whatever you want to call it. So that's a concern for me, kind of more the food that's ready to go. I think that where you don't have to use heat or refrigeration. And I guess one other thing would be, it would be good to have some guidelines for the vendors. That would just even if it's a few, you know, so you can say, well, we didn't approve them because of this. So you don't get angry people coming at you saying, hey, they're competing with my store and you said this wasn't going to happen. It's just something to consider to kind of show the community that we've done our due diligence.
All right. A couple things here. I'm going to wait on alcohol. I spoke to Michelle and I spoke to another couple of business owners of stores. And I had forgotten about the program, Truly Hermosa. And it is my understanding that it is difficult for a store owner to man a tent on the beach. It means that they have to bring their wares down, whatever it is, if it's sunglasses, t-shirts, or candles, whatever. They have to find staff. They have to give staff a break. It's just a lot of work for them. But I had forgotten about Truly Hermosa. So one of the ideas that came up, and I'm saying this now, hopefully businesses are listening, is that maybe there would be a tent. Maybe it could be a double wide. And a lot of different businesses could come down, whether it's a spa, a nail salon, or facials, clothing, whatever business we have that could come down. They could offer giving away a 20% off coupon, maybe have some information about the fact you've been on the beach all day and now you might want to get a pedicure to help your sore feet, that kind of a thing. So there is a discussion that had started a while ago and it sort of fell by the wayside. So maybe this is something that we can encourage them to do, where the businesses could all come together. Makes sense to go through the chamber, but the event producers could, approve a specific area where they can easily get to. They can bring some of their wares, but maybe not have to take on the burden of having a tent that they have to monitor from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, or 4 days. So I think there's somewhere to go with that, where we can encourage the event producer to support multiple businesses without charging them $115 per tent. So that's one of my thoughts. I do really have a problem with adding any more noise down on the beach. I am surprised at how loud in 2025, 2026 generators are. I don't find anything positive about them. They make noise. They smell bad, most of them. So I would like to stay away from any type of food that would need an outside warming or cooling source. I totally agree with Tom that there are enough businesses out there that people can leave the beach, go get something. We've seen, when you go to the tournaments, we've seen how lucky Good Stuff is with their location of being able to get food over onto the beach. So I think there's a way that we can have food, yes, some food on the beach, whether or not it's an ice cream vendor or something of that nature, but I don't think there's a need for us to work on ways to get food onto the beach. Regarding the alcohol, I really struggle with this. I understand that we have more people are going to come to almost anything if they know they can come down and buy a beer. I think it's just pretty simple. But I don't think it's wise for us at this point to support something of that nature at this time. Maybe there's something to look at in the future. I'm so overwhelmed when I look at the Manhattan Beach Open and the structure that they've built, the amount of people, and I'm sure it is a great way to raise money, and we might have to have this might come back to us. I believe that this council is really interested in supporting something of that nature. I did talk to numerous people in Manhattan Beach. They have no complaints about the way that program runs. But to put anything on the beach that is not welcoming to all, I really, really struggle with. So I will agree with my fellow commissioners on that. So unless anyone has anything else to say.
Chair Ellman, Senior Rec Supervisor Brian has something to add related to the food component.
Great, thank you.
Well, just knowing there was a few comments on concerns as well on the food, allowing food sales, I think it's best to try to consolidate a response for us to take to City Council, right? That is a recommendation from the commission. So what I was gathering is we would be in favor of food sales if it was prepared or prepackaged food, but we are not in support of anything that requires cooking or preparing on site and using flammable objects such as grills and hot stoves. Is that, did I gather that correctly?
Or like power, like a blender
Right,
for a
or
side,
requires
right?
power
So
sources.
I think a common term is ready to eat. I think that's
Right.
even a regulatory term.
And I use the term prepared food because in the municipal code currently, we have definitions already installed of what is defined as prepared food. So we can use that in our development in the policy.
So we could very easily sell ice cream on the beach.
If it's prepared, right.
Okay. All right. So that's one thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously we're going to make a recommendation to council about this. I don't think it needs to be exact, right? I mean, I think we can make a recommendation that local Hermosa businesses are incentivized, and currently the way we believe that is through this discount, but maybe there's another way. I think council also has the option to, to decide they want to add alcohol into the mix just in the way that Manhattan does, right?
Correct.
I also think that it's nice to have a guideline, but this isn't any of our fields. And I think people are really creative and they come up with things that we may not be able to think about. And I don't want to hamstring someone either. But I think the noise, I'm with you on that in terms of a guideline of let's not light anything on fire and create more noise. But I also want to at least leave the space open for people who are far more creative than I, in terms of what they do and how they could accomplish it on the beach.
All right. Regarding the alcohol, it pretty much sounds like our response is no alcohol on the beach. So we all seem to.
So to me, it's just like, why complicate matters at this point? Step one, let's clarify vending on the beach, and then alcohol seems to have quite a few other considerations that I feel like, a lot, if you think about this almost in steps, right? It'd be easy if we said, everything's allowed now. It's kind of, then you got to peel it back and it's hard. Like, I feel like we're taking a step here and maybe later we'll want to take another step, but right now, for me, I don't want to even bother, adjusting the current alcohol prohibitions on the beach.
All right. Yes.
I think on the food, if we go with Brian's prepared food, and then people who are more creative than us will see that, and when it goes to council, they can say, well, prepared food doesn't work because there's something here that we can offer. Right, and then council can then change it, but at least we would start with prepared food.
Okay. So I'm looking to Brian to be sure that, and we're not going anywhere with the discussion on alcohol other than we pretty much seem pretty comfortable with not changing the policy as it is.
Yeah,
That's enough
as
for you?
recommended from staff.
Okay.
Correct.
Can someone make a motion?
I can make a motion that we recommend to council the consideration of vendor sales on the beach in conjunction with a special event permit, not including alcohol.
And
excluding alcohol.
and about the food and the local business, or I get the local business already taken care of, I guess, but the food bit, right?
Okay, with my friendly amendment of consideration of a discounted fee to local businesses and limiting the sale of food to prepared items.
I think I got that. I'm going to restate it. So you're essentially approving staff's recommendation with the modification that the food be limited to prepared food only.
Yes.
And that there be a discount for vendors that are Hermosa Beach-based businesses.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Well said.
A second? No, I'm asking for a second.
All right, I'll second it, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Voting is now open.
I'm an aye. I'm an aye. Not coming up on the screen.
Voting is now closed. Motion carried 5-0.
Next
Next on the agenda is the new recreation software. Lisa?
Thank you, Chair Ellman. We're queuing up the presentation. Okay, thank you. Next slide. All right, so this item is staff's recommendation to the commission to receive and file an informational item regarding options for the commission involvement in the transition to the city's new recreation management software, Rec Technologies, Inc. Next slide. Following a competitive review and RFP process, City Council approved a professional services agreement with Rec Technologies, Inc. on October 28th of 2025 to modernize the Community Resources Department's recreation management software and improve the user experience. Following a future agenda item request, staff evaluated the feasibility of commissioner involvement in the implementation of such software, including options such as appointing a commissioner to the implementation team or forming a subcommittee, or how the commission can provide informal input on the project. Next slide. Implementation of the new software is an operational and administrative function requiring ongoing time-sensitive staff decisions related to the system configuration, data migration, training, vendor coordination, and contract compliance. It's important that these responsibilities remain within staff to ensure accountability, efficiency, and alignment with the contractual obligations. The commission serves in an advisory role to City Council. It would not necessarily have the authority over contract management or an operational implementation such as this for this project. So concerns are adding a commissioner to the implementation team or creating a subcommittee may extend beyond the commission's advisory role and could impact project timelines. However, staff values the commission's feedback, so while we do not recommend direct commissioner involvement in the implementation activities or a formal subcommittee for this project, we would provide regular updates at commission meetings and through email to the commission on implementation milestones and progress, and that would allow our commissioners to ask questions and offer this high-level feedback as appropriate on the updates that we provide pertaining to this project. This concludes my staff report, and I'm available for any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you. All right, so questions, comments? I'm going to change things up and throw it to you, Tom. Okay. Elka?
You know, I think adding a commissioner to the implementation team, specifically someone that has experience, would be a good thing. I don't think it exceeds the commission's advisory role at all. And I went back and found an ordinance that they passed last year, the City Council, that outlines the duties and responsibilities of the commissioners. And one of them is to formulate policies on the services, programs, and lease agreements of the department subject to the approval of City Council. And another is make periodic inventories of programs, services, and facilities, including park areas, and interpret the needs of the public to the City Council. You know, so that is, I think they're asking us to go a little bit beyond what we usually kind of think of as the role of a commission or commissioner. And if Commissioner Tullis has this expertise and he's willing to do it, I mean, I think having another set of eyes and having someone that can watch these milestones before they're voted on. I know you said you'd come to us after, I think that may be too late. Like if there's something he flags or something that we should be concerned about, it might be good to bring up. He's not going to be making the decisions. Obviously, that will be for you and staff, but I think it's perfectly within the scope of our role here. And, you know, just another aside, they mentioned that the department staff, commissioners are supposed to work with the department staff in the preparation of the annual budget. I mean, that's a huge responsibility, and the capital improvement program. So I see this RecTech contract kind of along the same lines as a budget and CIP programs. So.
All right, Tracy?
I think this is the second time this has been in front of us as an informational item, and really, I'm just going to be blunt. I feel that if Commissioner Tallis has this expertise and wants to work alongside staff to help, then do that. But I don't know that it needs to be a formal position, subcommittee, advisory role. I think we all offer our expertise when we can, both as our roles as commissioners and as Hermosa Beach citizens and residents. I kind of feel like if you want to do it, then just call Lisa and see how you can offer your assistance. I don't think it needs to be anything this formal, and I'll just leave it there.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to speak before you do, just because I don't agree with Tracy. I don't think there.
Chair Ellman, I just want to remind the commission, we shouldn't be getting into discussion really
You're
at
correct.
this point.
We should be
limit it
asking
to
questions.
questions,
Yes.
open up to public
Okay.
comment, and then we can have the discussion
Okay.
point.
My question to you, Lisa, is this gives us access to information about the residents, their credit card information, personal information they've put on a form, correct?
Yes, the customer account has saved payment information, addresses, email addresses, telephone numbers, date of birth, all of that information is in each customer's account.
Okay, and I'm assuming that every employee in the city of Hermosa Beach has had a background check.
That is true.
Okay, so that we are comfortable with anyone that works in the city having access to information that we know that they've been cleared with a background check.
Correct.
Okay. I think that that's really my only question right now. It has to do with how I look at this problem, but I don't believe I have any more questions right now. Do you have any questions? Okay, Tom, I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, Todd. All right, so I'll bring this back and open this up to public comment.
This is a time for members of the public to address the commission on this item only. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. When called, please state your name and city of residence for the record. We will begin with members of the public wishing to provide comment in the chamber. Seeing no one, we do have 2 hands raised right now. Starting with Nancy.
Oh, good. I get to go before Tony this time. I am so surprised that we are not willing to take advantage of Todd's expertise in this area. And people saying this doesn't need to be a formal thing, really, yes, it does. We have someone who is expert in this area, and we're going to say, hey, if he gives Lisa a call, maybe she'll return his call, and I'm sure she would, and no disrespect to Lisa. We should be taking advantage of this in the best possible way. I think you should appoint a commissioner, Todd, to this implementation to make it the best that we can possibly be, because why wouldn't we? And if we don't do it, we are continuing to reward mediocrity. So let's just utilize expertise when we have it and stop rewarding mediocrity. Thank you.
Next, we have Laura Pena.
Hi, Laura Pena here, Chair, Commissioners, staff. I appreciate staff actually bringing this forward, this report, and I want to be clear at the onset. I am not questioning staff's authority to manage contracts or oversee implementation. That responsibility absolutely belongs with staff and City Council. But what is concerning is the conclusion that an experienced software professional from this commission in the implementation process would somehow blur governance lines or slow progress. This software is not an internal back office tool. It's a public-facing system that families, seniors, instructors, event organizers will rely on every single day. Decisions made during implementation will directly affect registration success, payment transparency, response times when something goes wrong, and ultimately whether our residents trust the use of this system. So this commission happens to include a member with deep professional experience in software implementation and a strong understanding of our community needs. That's not a liability, it's an asset. The staff report suggests that commissioner involvement risks inefficiency. But in reality, many cities solve this by clearly defining the role. He can be advisory to the implementation team, not voting or time limited or just act as a consultant, with staff retaining full authority. That approach strengthens outcomes without slowing delivery. What I find interesting is that excluding that expertise until after implementation limits the commission to reacting rather than helping prevent problems earlier, when maybe fixes are easier or cheaper or even less disruptive to the public. This commission itself asked for options, and including informal participation, not control. I think the recommendations to simply receive and file sends an unintended message to our community expertise is welcome only after decisions are already made. If we truly value transparency, user-centered design, and community trust, then incorporating qualified advisory expertise during implementation should be viewed as risk mitigation, not a risk creation. Not including our commissioner, to me, this would be like upgrading an airport control system without consulting a pilot who flies daily. IT can implement the software, but pilots know how systems perform under pressure. I respectfully encourage reconsideration of this report and urge our staff and our leadership to find a structured way to include his expertise, background check, whatever, if he agrees, clearly, appropriately, and early, in service of better outcomes for the community that we all represent. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next, we have Tony Higgins.
Yeah, it's hello. Just as another eScribe bug or Zoom bug, I got the unmute button when Penelope started to speak. So I don't know what's up with that, but it could have caused a problem. In any case, let's get down to brass tacks. This is the issue of the commissioner involvement. It just amazes me that the city didn't try to find ways to make that happen, given his qualifications, and instead focused on reasons that it shouldn't happen. That's all I have to say, but that's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Seeing no other hands online.
All right, I'll bring it back. I did want to ask one more question. Did we talk to the city attorney?
We did. This report was drafted with the legal team.
Okay, so the city attorney agrees with staff that this is not
within the scope of the advisory role.
Okay. All right. Absolutely.
So we have a contract right now with professional services agreement, a professional services agreement with the Rec
Rec Tech-
Technologies?
yes.
Right. And that, city council approved that,
Yes,
and we're already working on it.
correct.
When is it going to be up and running?
I don't have a timeline in front of me right now. Do you have?
The
Original
rollout,
date.
the rollout to the public is
Yeah.
targeted for August of
you, Brian.
2026.
Thanks. I don't have any other questions. I have comments, but no other questions.
Anyone else have any questions?
Just one question. Did the city attorney say why? Like, did he give a reason?
Yeah, it's to have a commissioner on the implementation team is outside of the scope of an advisory role. Much of the stuff that's covered in the written staff report is the concern of why it would be. And this recommendation is not eliminating commissioner involvement in this project in any way or not allowing one commissioner to provide input based on their experience, expertise on the matter. One commissioner will receive the same update that the whole commission will receive, and the whole commission will be able to provide feedback on the project. We stated in the staff report we would share the implementation milestones, we would share the schedule progress, we would share our plans for messaging for the community. Also, the commission could provide feedback before we do that. We're not coming to the commission after we've done things. We would keep the commission engaged in this, the commission as a whole. But to have one commissioner serve on the implementation team, staff is not recommending. To have a subcommittee for this project, staff is not recommending, because this really is an operational matter. This isn't changing policy in any way. We're not changing our contract class program policies, our facility policies, or any other policies that would be associated with this program and the booking and the registration that would be associated with this program.
And do you think, given our, would these updates occur during meetings that we have once a month? Or would they be in emails? Or how does the public
both
get aware of?
So what we've done is we've provided no surprises to the commission. Each commissioner is welcome to reply back to those emails and provide feedback through that manner. And then we will provide public updates as well.
During the meetings?
During the meetings, during my director's report.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. So, Todd, why don't you spend some time talking about your ideas?
I don't think it'll be long. Yeah, obviously, you know, the staff report is a little personally disappointing for me because I just saw this as a prime opportunity to leverage my experience and help the city do things better. You know, fundamentally, I believe there's some kind of misunderstanding in the staff report. A lot of justification has to do around data access and decision-making, and I was very clear in my requests, both written and verbal, that I did not want any decision-making authority. It's purely an advisory role to try and improve quality, reduce risk, and improve staff professional development. I've got a lot to offer staff who I know have no experience in this. It was clear, you know, it's clear from my discussions, they don't get a lot of support from IT in this, and maybe haven't done this before, and just feel like I've had a lot to offer. So all that being said, you know, I do look forward to the regular progress reports and trying to help do all those things at the best way I can with the information I can get as it goes on.
Tracy?
Here's what I do know is that I think Lisa and her staff, if they have questions or they want more information, they would reach out to you. I know in my professional capacity, Lisa has reached out to me, and I've helped her in my own square of knowledge in terms of what I do for a living. So I know that that can happen, and I appreciate that you want to offer your expertise, and I still think there's an avenue to do it. I just don't think it has to be that formal.
Tom?
Well, first of all, for everybody who made public comment, thank you. But tonight, this is a receive and file item. It is not an action item. So it's not something we could make a recommendation on to do a subcommittee or appoint a commissioner to a role, because that's not what's on the agenda. It's not just staff doing this. Staff has an outside consultant that we're paying good money to. This contract was approved 4 months ago by city council, so this is not something council asked us to look into. And just to look at what the staff is doing. Every time a commissioner gets involved directly with staff in a formal role, that imposes obligations and burdens and communication requirements. It just does. We have a volleyball subcommittee, we have a municipal lease subcommittee, we have a dog park subcommittee, we have a youth subcommittee, we have a lawn bowling subcommittee, we have a pool, we're gonna have a pool subcommittee. Their plate is full. Staff is saying they don't want a formal role here. They already have an outside consultant. So again, it is just a receive and file, but I'm comfortable with staff's recommendation.
Elka.
I think I've said pretty much everything. I think we're missing an opportunity, and I know this is not an action item, but it should have been, and I think we're missing an opportunity for a consultant. I know you probably don't want to feel like you're micromanaged, but I don't think that's what would occur. I think if I read a contract, there's probably things I would not even understand or understand the implications of or what we can take advantage of. And that's why somebody who has expertise in this area could really help the city and residents.
All right, well, thank you. I do agree with Tom in that we have hired someone to work with staff. They've been vetted, they've gone through the correct interviews, and I just think we're opening up, I don't like even using the word Pandora's box, but I don't think that this is a good thing to do now or in the future for other systems. You haven't been interviewed. Yes, we all know what you do for a living, but it doesn't necessarily apply to what's going on here. And I do think that there is a reason why we sign contracts with companies so that we can get their professional help. And I don't think that this is, I'm really stuck. The word mediocrity is a pretty harsh word, and I almost slightly offended by that word when it comes to staff. These are very professional people. They've gone to college, they've taken classes, they are professionals. And to use that word in any way when it comes to how our staff works is, I just think it was a poor word to use, and I just felt the need to say that. I do agree with Tom and Tracy that there is a system in place. We know what our responsibilities are, and I do appreciate the fact that you're offering more help than maybe some of us could offer. But I just don't think that this is an appropriate way for us to use someone that has not gone through the professional system that a city uses when they pick vendors. So as Lisa has said and done in the past, staff is more than willing to give us as much information as we ask for if they haven't already done that. And every time we call, every time we ask questions, it takes them away from what it is they're doing. And I think it sets a precedent. So that's where we are right now. Okay, so.
Can I just address one thing that Barbara, you and Tom both mentioned, just for your clarification? The consultant on this project is the software vendor, right? The consultant is the software vendor. So the company who builds the system is also the one, presumably, they're the consultant we hired. So I've been on that side of the world. That's the side I'm on right now. And I know how we don't mention things in front of customers. And so that's all I'm seeking to do. Again, risk mitigation, quality, staff development.
Thank you. So now, does someone want to consider a motion, or are we just going to receive and file?
Do we need a motion to receive and file? Or
We should.
all right, I move that we receive and file the report.
I'll second.
Voting is now open. Commissioner Maroney, your vote.
Aye.
Voting is now closed. Motion carried 3-2.
All right, next, consideration of a 2026 special event fee waiver grant request for the Easter Sunrise Mass and SoCal Beach Foundation. Austin. Thanks for waiting.
Good evening, Chair Alman and Commissioners. Austin Dewey, Special Events and Filming Coordinator on behalf of staff, recommends the Parks, Recreation, and Community Resources Advisory Commission consider approval of the fee waiver grant request for Our Lady of Guadalupe for its Easter Sunrise Mass and SoCal Beach Foundation for its events in the total amount of $3,139 as proposed in the staff report. Next slide, please. At its November 17th, 2025 meeting, City Council designated a maximum amount of $5,000 in fee waiver grants for the 2026 calendar year. As of today's meeting, no fee waiver grants have been allocated to any 2026 special events. Next slide, please. Our Lady of Guadalupe will host its Easter Sunrise Mass on Sunday, April 5th on the beach south of the pier. The $1,740 requested would be applied to a portion of the daily event fee. SoCal Beach Foundation will host its beach volleyball tournaments for all ages on February 14th, March 14th, March 28th, April 18th, May 16th, May 17th, September 26th, with event set up on September 25th. The $1,399 requested would be applied to a portion of the nonprofit daily event fee, event co-sponsor fee, and event setup fee. Next slide, please. The current fee waiver grant balance is $5,000. Should the commission approve the fee waiver grant request of $3,139, the remaining fee waiver grant balance would be $1,861. To note, the event producers were recommended to be in attendance today to answer any questions you may have regarding the fee waiver grant request, and staff are also available. Thanks.
All right. Are the event producers online?
Yes, from Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Good evening.
Good evening. This is Jamie Ramirez from Our Lady of Guadalupe Mission Coordinator. Appreciate your consideration for a grant waiver.
Maybe you could just remind us of the event, what it is you're doing, when you're doing it, the fact that you're stealth, but just a reminder, we have some new commissioners here.
Yes. And so the biggest holiday for the Roman Catholic Church is Easter Sunday. And so it is a sunrise beach event we've had for 11 plus years on the beach, and it is open to anyone to attend. It is a 1 hour service. There's just a message of inspiration and hope. And we invite everyone to start off this beautiful holiday together.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions for Jamie or staff regarding the event or the fee waiver?
Is David here?
I was just going with the, okay. David, are you online?
He was.
We are giving him permission to speak. David, are you the caller coming in? If you are, raise your hand. Okay. David, you may unmute using *6. Apologies, *9. So *9.
Hi, me again. Thank you. I don't know if there's any direct questions for me, but SoCal Beach Foundation, I gave my end of year impact maybe 2 months ago. Truly not much has changed since then because we went in the winter, but I applied for the waiver again. I don't know if I'm considered reapplying, but we applied last year. And same events, we're run 8 tournaments throughout the year. We teamed up with Cultural Club this year, or last year / we're teaming up again this year. We raised $10,000 last year. 70% went towards the mission and 30% towards our growth or / future growth for new pop-up tents and just tournament stuff altogether. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Great. Thank you, David. I'll start with Tracy. Any questions?
I don't
For
have
either?
I don't have any questions. No.
Okay. Todd? All right. Tom?
Yeah, David, just remind us all what you're doing with the money in a way that's beneficial for the community.
Yeah, we work with Cultural Club, so we provide funds to Cultural Club in helping their volleyball portion. We also help with sliders and building courts here in Hermosa Beach and fixing up just local courts. And yeah.
All right. Elka?
Is Culture Club, that was the one that was previously in Manhattan Beach and now is moving to Hermosa as well? Or can you tell me?
Correct. They have, yes, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there. They have a event in Manhattan Beach. I don't know if it's fully been approved yet in Hermosa Beach, but it actually is, I believe I can refer to Lisa on this, but they're trying to be approved in Hermosa Beach for, I believe, on one of my event dates. And so we'll do a little collab on that day.
Lisa, can you share some information on that?
They have definitely been approved here in Hermosa Beach. We're partnering with them, and we'll make the formal presentation to City Council at their second meeting in January, and then registration will start shortly after for the Hermosa camp.
All right. Anything else, Elka?
So are you participating in that Culture Club, or are you just donating money to them?
Both. I'm part of the board for Culture Club, but I focus on the volleyball portion because I needed a representative. The team is growing, but right now we donate funds and we also provide volunteers and provide equipment, and I'm physically there helping as well.
Okay, thank you.
So kids from out of the area are coming in and learning. You're helping with volleyball, but they have other programs there. But your portion of the program is to assist physically with a tent and then providing the volunteers and teaching the kids how to play volleyball.
Yes, that's correct. They have a surfing session, they have a volleyball section, and they have a culture section. So they learn arts and crafts.
Okay, and you have provided sliders for the public courts. How many sliders have? It's 2 sliders per court, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So we'll just call them
roughly
one
300
slider
oh,
is for one court, and you've provided sliders for how many courts?
In Hermosa Beach, we are at 22. In Southern California, we're at 37.
All right. And your goal is to do what this year regarding the sliders and the courts?
We want to complete south of pier of Hermosa Beach. We're staying away from the courts at the specific pier, but for community courts, we talked to the steward and put up sliders per request. So our goal would just be to continue what we've been doing.
And how much does do the sliders cost?
$350 per court.
Okay. Well, it seems like you've been pretty successful so far, and we did ask you to find a way to give back, and that was the reason why you were able to join Culture Club?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, any questions for this or for the church? Okay, well then you've got questions. Feel free.
Just one question. I just noticed that the request for the fee waiver for SoCal Beach Foundation this year is $13.99, and last year, oh shoot, I just had it. Last year it was $288. Is that because this year they have more dates?
No, that's because last year, according to my memory, and I'm sure David can confirm this, I believe he submitted his application pretty late in the year, so it wasn't covering all of the events that took place in 2025.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm remembering
Yeah,
correctly.
that is correct.
My
He-
team
Thank
that's
you.
nodding.
All right. If there are no more questions, I'll open it up to public comment.
This is a time for members of the public to address the commission on this item only. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. When called, please state your name and city of residence for the record. We will begin with members of the public wishing to provide comments in our chamber. Seeing that there is none. Moving along to virtual public comment. Seeing no hands raised.
All right, so I'll bring it back, and does anyone have any comments to make, or would someone like to make a motion?
I guess a comment, play a lot of volleyball, and courts with the sliders are much better and easier to use. I'd like to see them on more courts, specifically the South of Pier courts, because those ones have the worst nets completely, always drooping. So I don't know if, I don't know how that exactly works, or why, if David can provide his materials and perhaps labor for the commercial zone courts, that would be a great improvement in my eyes to those courts as well. Some of them have a different type of slider, like 3 or 4 courts have that in the commercial zone, but it'd be nice to have more.
All right. Tracy, any comments?
No, I think both are worthwhile organizations. I know that Our Lady of Guadalupe leaves the beach immaculate when they leave, which is always a good partner for the city to have. So I think they both do good works for the city.
Totally agree. Tom? Elka?
Nope, just
Okay.
want to make a motion. if I
Excellent.
can.
I would like, again, to thank David for finding a different avenue than what you started with. You saw there was a problem, and I think it's a great idea that you've helped Culture Club out. And Jamie, as usual, you guys you come in, you have your amazing moment, and you're gone, and we're very, very grateful for that. So thank you very much. And Elke, you'd like to make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion, we approve the 2026 special event fee waiver grant request for Easter Sunrise Mass and SoCal Beach Foundation.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Voting is now open. Commissioner Maroney, your vote.
Aye.
Voting is now closed. Motion carried 5-0.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. God bless.
So the next is approval of the Parks and Recreation and Community Resources Advisory Commission's February 2026 meeting date. Lisa?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Commission, I don't have a presentation for this item because it's a fairly quick item. And Commissioner Toulis, thank you for notifying me that the title from the previous agenda item pertaining to our meeting dates is carried over to this one. But luckily, our agenda notes that the recommendation is only for the February meeting. So council did schedule its February meeting on the first Tuesday of February, which is typically our meeting date. So we are recommending the commission have their February meeting on Tuesday, February 10th, so the second Tuesday of the month. And that concludes my verbal.
All right. Do the commissioners have any questions? All right, Amari, public comment?
This is a time for members of the public to address the commission. On this item only, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. When called, please state your name and city of residence for the record. We will begin with members of the public wishing to provide comments in our chamber. Seeing that there's no one, opening up to virtual comment. Seeing no hands raised.
All right, I'll bring it back and see if anyone wants to make a comment or a motion.
Just make a motion
Okay.
to approve the Parks, Recreation, and Community Resources Advisory Commission meeting date for Tuesday, February 10th, 2026.
A second?
Yeah, second.
Excellent, thank you.
Voting is now open. Commissioner Maroney, your vote.
And aye.
Voting is now closed. Motion carried 5-0.
All right, and finally, future agenda items. Lisa.
Thank you, Chair Ellman. We do have a presentation for this item. Okay, next slide. So this is a reoccurring item on our agenda. It's our future agenda item. So it's the city council direction or commission request on items to come back as a future agenda item, either an action item or an informational item to the commission. So far, the remaining items directed by city council are the consideration of a dog park and providing access to a pool for the community. As we've talked about tonight in commissioner comments, we have an established dog park subcommittee that's very active on this item, and we have not yet been able to begin the work to advance the pool item. And as far as action items for the commission's agenda next month at this time, in February, we do plan to bring the review of the Hermosa Beach Lawn Bowling Club operations to the commission per city council's request. Prior to that item being advanced to them, we have completed the draft report and we're waiting for the additional matters that pertain to the Public Works Department because this is a joint item and Public Works would likely be in attendance at our February meeting for this item as well. Next slide. And this is just information and a recurring slide that exists in this portion of the agenda on our existing subcommittees. Again, commissioners can provide updates on their subcommittee work during the commissioner comments portion of the agenda each month. And this does conclude my future agenda items report pertaining to this presentation. But I did want to also highlight that, staff has been requested to advance several future agenda items recently. These items are typically unplanned work and can require redirecting our staff focus from other planned work. So because of this, we just wanted to provide an update on some of these completed future agenda items or some that are still pending that I have not otherwise covered in my report this far in this section of the agenda. And I'm just kind of looking back since June 2025. So one of the future agenda items that council had requested was for us to advance review of the Hermosa Beach Little League's proposal for Clark Field improvements. to the commission and the Public Works Commission. So that has been completed, but it is pending city council review. That item still does need to go back to city council. I don't have a date as to when that may be, but we're actively working with Little League to provide some more details considering the input that was provided by the commissions so that is addressed when it goes to council. And then we did have the Hermosa Beach Museum expansion. That was really to review potential expansion options for the space to utilize what was previously used as the city's records room for an expansion of the Hermosa Beach Museum so they can expand their exhibits and office space. And City Council approved an amendment to allow for this expansion. And so that really will, at this point, while we manage the agreement, the review of such an expansion and plans for it will really be handled by our Public Works Department and our Community Development Department. And then the department name change. So this was formally approved by City Council. So we did have to do code amendments, and the code amendments are scheduled for City Council review on January 13th. Those code amendments really were to formally change the name of the department from Community Resources Department to Parks and Recreation Department, and to formally change the name of the commission to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and to formally change the title of the director to the Parks and Recreation Director. So we had to make sure that throughout the code, all of those changes would be made. So we have to have a first reading, again, scheduled for January 13th of those amendments, and then a second reading is then scheduled to follow that. And then upon approval of the second reading, it takes 30 days for that name change to be in effect. And staff would then complete the action items related to the name change, which we had presented to the commission initially when we brought this item to you first. So that concludes my report.
So we've gone over future agenda items. We have a report. Does anyone have any questions for the director about any of her reports?
Oh, we're just on future agenda items right now, right? Yeah, okay.
Okay. My question to you is Little League. Has that gone before Public Works? Is that?
That did go before Public Works already. So now the next step is council review.
Okay. So it's not coming back to visit us again?
It would not.
Okay.
But we, of course, would keep the commission up to date on the outcome of the city council review.
Perfect. All right. The pool. We have people that have come here. They're telling us exactly what we already know. What is the future of the pool for staff time right now to come up? We know that you don't just develop a group, a subcommittee. What is it that you're doing right now? Have you contacted, we've contacted other cities. Is there anything to report on that?
No, we have not began best practice research. We have not been able to advance this item considering other planned work, unplanned work. And so I think at this point, we really would like to get the dog park subcommittee recommendation formed before we jump into the pool work, because there also still is some best practice research that needs to be funneled through and put together for the commission to review that would help us as we take that dog park item forward. And our thoughts were to really not form a subcommittee with the pool and to come to the commission with best practice research to really demonstrate the reality of what it takes to have a pool within the city, the staff resources, the maintenance cost, really all of those items, the kind of evaluation that would need to be done to even determine what a feasible location may be. So we were going to come to the commission with more of an informational report to really determine the next steps on that item. And with consideration too of our planning for the 2026 World Cup, and we're already in several meetings regarding the 2028 Olympics, we just really haven't had the resources to begin that best practice research for the pool specifically right now.
Great. I think what I would say is that if anyone from that was here tonight or anyone watching regarding the pool, I think there's a conversation to be had with them if they want to reach out to us. But I do agree that coming back as an agendized item next month would cause a lot of extra work for staff when we really don't have a lot of direction yet.
I have a question related to that. I think at the very first meeting I was a part of in July, there was a Bark for a Park presentation as part of the presentation section. How did that happen? Did that have to be added to an agenda, or did they just volunteer to do it?
It was added to an agenda following city council's direction to have the commission review really their presentation and further review the idea of a dog park or dog-friendly amenities. So it's very similar to what they directed us for the pool, but it's just staff's capability to manage.
But
Two very
the Bark
large-
for a Park presentation, staff didn't work on that at all. I think that, my impression was that was Bark for a Park organization themselves put that
When
all together.
They came to us that,
We collaborated with them to make sure that it would
okay.
be the most informational presentation, but they put together the presentation. And it was after we had discussed the possibility of forming a subcommittee already at that point. So it was a natural agenda to have them on because we knew that we were going to discuss the subcommittee component.
Yeah, it sounded, I feel like they mentioned they wanted to present, but then they also wanted a subcommittee. I heard
Right.
both things tonight.
so I'm sorry that, I mean, maybe we should have just yelled at them before they left. No, don't leave yet. But there is a conversation to be had, but I just don't think right now with everything on staff's plate that this is the time. But it is on us as individual commissioners to meet with people and hear and give them suggestions of where they might go. But I don't think it's time for us to put this on an agenda in the next month or two. Is that a fair?
Yeah, our conversations with the community members that are advocating for a pool is it would be most beneficial to have their presentation come at the time that we have the best practice research so that the commission can decide with all that information if there should be any action for a future agenda item.
All right.
And I will bring up the fact that because that is on hold right now, it doesn't slow their progress down in their ability of conducting their own best practice research, compiling all the information, scouting locations in Hermosa Beach, and formalizing a formal PowerPoint presentation. They're more than welcome to compile all that, send to staff, and when staff has the resources and availability to decipher the information and then help compile a report and bring it to the commission, it's all plug and play at that point. So I do want to encourage the group that, this doesn't slow down their own personal initiatives at all. It's just what our capability is internally right now, if that makes sense.
All right. Anyone have any other comments?
Yeah, question. So when you do come back to us, and I do understand waiting for the community presentation to hold that until staff has gotten their best practices together, so all that information is given to us at one time. But one of the things we could do based on that information is then form a subcommittee.
That could be
Yes.
what the commission.
That's a possibility.
That is.
I had one quick question.
Absolutely.
The lawn bowling, are we looking for funding? Is this going to be a CIP project?
No, it will not. So the direction was just to provide an item outlining the lawn bowling club's operation. So maintenance terms. Who maintains what at that space? What does the city maintain? What does the lawn bowling club do? And operations in general, like memberships and rentals for the space, their revenue, their expenditures, really just all the operations of the club.
But they're independent, right? Are they part of?
They're a group of volunteers.
Okay, but it's part of your department. The lawn bowling, do people sign up?
No.
They don't
They
use?
sign up through the group of volunteers. There's an established board, which is all part of the report too. I listed all the positions that serve on that board. And really our oversight as a city right now of that facility is the maintenance that we do. Everything else is operated through those group of volunteers. The membership collection, the revenue,
It
the
is a
private
city
rentals.
facility, though.
It is a city facility,
Right.
though.
And I think they do a lot of their own maintenance, from what I understand. I went to a lawn bowling open house, and they were talking about the machines they have to keep the grass flat and all that. Is that?
The city's doing much of that maintenance.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, when it
Okay.
comes to the
in
lawn
our-
field maintenance, that's the city contracted services through Merchant. That's responsibility on a weekly basis. We do know that the club performs like beautification events and projects to facelift, the building. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. So then we're going to move on to the Community Resources Director's report.
All right, there's a presentation for this item as well. Okay, next slide. So we wanted to begin this portion of the agenda, my report, by highlighting the winning teams for our adult sports leagues. So for fall 2025, we congratulate Team Loaded Bases as the adult softball league champions. And you can see a picture of the team there on the slide. And for our adult basketball league champions, we congratulate Team Botello. And you could see a picture on the slide as well of that team. So congratulations to our adult sports leagues winning teams. Next slide. And this next item, very excited to announce and was touched upon earlier, staff and the youth program subcommittee have been working together to form this official release of our call for students in grades 7 through 12 to serve on a youth advisory squad. The squad would meet with staff 3 times on the dates listed on the flyer to provide their input and ideas on the city's youth programming, parks, recreation, and community opportunities. Additionally, they will explore adding a student representative to the Parks Commission or creating a brand new youth advisory commission to focus on youth-related matters in the city. The flyer has a QR code that directly links to an application on the city website for one to fill out who may be interested in serving on this squad. Applications are due by the end of the month, and we will hold interviews on Thursday, February 5th. And all that information is on the flyer and again at the application link. And we will be really circulating this flyer hopefully by the end of the week, early next week, so that we can get as most applicants as possible prior to the end of the month.
Just because I can't read it, what are the dates their application needs to be in by when?
By January 31st.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
Question about this, how many, is the squad unlimited, or is the target number for the squad for these?
We were really going to determine that once we determine the level of applications that we received and the level of interest.
Great. Well, great job, everyone.
Real quick, Lisa, can you share that flyer with us via email?
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
definitely.
Yeah, I did have another, unrelated to this stuff, but I think it might be in the context of the director's report. The Kelly Courts project, I know it's ongoing. Are there any key touch points or milestones coming up in the next couple of months where, or is it just all in Public Works domain, or does staff have any key touch points coming up with? Maybe just any updates on that project and what's to come next?
Yes, so the completion date was always set to be prior to the start of Little League season. We have had some rain, so we did reach out for an update from our Public Works Department today. We weren't able to get a formal update, but once I receive that response, we can email it to the commission. And then following the opening, we would like to have a small reopening ceremony that the department would host. And we, of course, need to begin the policy discussion, which we actually have a meeting with staff, the internal Community Resources Department team, to discuss some updates that we want to bring to the commission, hopefully at the February meeting, for review to the policy, really, to encompass now that we have 4 courts versus the 2.
In terms of the facility build out itself, though, that's what I was curious.
Yeah, so-
Is there any, are you a stakeholder in that will be consulted as it goes if there's changes or anything that comes up in that regard?
Yeah, so we're informed if there's any major changes, which there really isn't, that we would have to update the commission on.
Yeah, there's been a few items that they brought forward to us, like equipment changes that the contractor was purchasing, like replacement of a tennis net. And so they're coming to us for our expertise on what brand and what equipment to use, and things of that nature. And they're keeping us up to date with any benchmarks. But as Lisa mentioned, the last 2 weeks of the construction's kind of been stalled because of the weather impacts.
All right. Well, then I will adjourn this meeting to our next meeting on February 10th. Thank you, everyone.